This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? Oh, it's so good to be in the studio every dang day. Watching the blink, the bling on the Eiffel Tower for the Paris Games. I know that this is our building's thing because, we're an Olympic family. You know what I mean? I get wrapped up in freaking all of it, man. And I did see this Alcaraz and Nadal in doubles. That's not a. First of all, that'd be
on clay.
Yeah, Roland Garros.
Come on.
That's the thing. Here's the thing. I was like, this is you got to send this guy out at least with a doubles gold. But man, Rafael Nadal. I think he's like Bret Michaels. You remember Bret Michaels, the
of the lead singer of Poison?
Yes.
Is that what we're talking about? That Bret Michaels?
But you knew there was going to be a Bret Michaels reference today, right? That's what you had on your bingo card?
I was ready for it.
No,
See?
But what was the show that he did? It was like
the dating show?
Rock of Love?
Rock of Love? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And so, but you remember his whole thing was he had that bandana with the hair, and everyone was like convinced that he took the hair and bandana off at the same time.
I'm still convinced
that's
of it.
That's what Rafael Nadal looks a little bit like these days. You're like, I don't think.
How many people from that show are still alive?
I think Brett.
Can we check in?
But Bret Michaels is still with us, isn't he? Wait. Hey, Jeremy.
Gonna have to Google that one.
Tell me. I mean, look, he had some hard years in there. Look, if we're in 2024
still alive,
and Flava Flav, 61 years old,
barely living.
Flava Flav is in the pool with the women's water polo team, and he's sponsoring the women's water polo team. Where's that money coming from for him? Where's Flava Flav getting clock money? You know what I mean? I just wonder. Like, this is the weirdest thing. Snoop Dogg and Flava Flav are the American representatives in Paris. So congrats. And how do you look? Can we sponsor a team? And what does that take?
I did a little Googling.
What do you have?
Flavor Flav's net worth?
Don't say Flavor Flav, Jeremy.
Sorry.
Bring something to
the
this.
whitest thing you've ever done in your life,
Come
Jeremy.
on, dude. We gotta keep up.
I got a little
semblance.
thing in my throat here.
Man.
Flavor Flav.
Did you just have
Flav.
some white bread with mayonnaise?
Stop it.
Flavor Flav, back to you.
$200 million.
No.
$200 million net
You could
worth.
sponsor a team
what?
with that.
He had like
Public Enemy is one of the greatest hip hop bands of all time.
But I just assumed that funds were not taken care of well.
Residuals, Alex.
He's still getting,
Residuals in the music industry, not a thing.
and don't forget his reality TV run, which was probably very profitable.
Which was also something of love, right?
Of course.
Flava of Love. I definitely spent a lot of college watching that reality show.
You would be correct. That was the name.
What was it? Flava of Love?
Flavor of Love.
No.
That's what it says right here.
Flavor of Love. Back to you. Come on. I learned more in the first 2.5 minutes of this show about Flava Flav than I've ever thought that I was going to. He's one, what's more shocking, that he sponsored the women's water polo team or that he is worth $200 million?
There is a discrepancy. Some say anywhere from 5 to 10 million only.
Okay.
It's a big gap.
If I'm him, that's what I'm saying too. For the IRS not to come after me. I'm worth maybe $114 currently. After I gave all that money to Team USA Water Polo? Come on. Anyway.
He's invested all his money in clocks.
I could see that they'd be like, oh no, what took off? Because when people get these side businesses, like Conor McGregor, he earned, a couple $100 million as a fighter, but he made $1 billion when he sold his whiskey company.
Right.
And so I didn't know if Flava Flav had
every former retired athlete has a wine company, right?
Right, yeah, or yes.
Or a car dealership.
I mean, Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul Jesse Pinkman. I didn't know what his name was. I to pull up Aaron Paul is actually a really good pull for me today. But Jesse Pinkman and
Don't you dare kill Aaron Paul. Don't you dare.
No. And Walter White, they have their own whiskey, right? Or no, tequila.
They've been at Costco signing, hawking at Costco.
Yeah. Not here.
Of course not.
Not in this state.
Not happening.
Yeah, that's what's funny when you go to Costco out of state and you're like, gosh, you guys have a problem.
Yeah.
You people in Washington State have a real problem. Why do you have to have a 17-foot display of booze?
Then they ask us why we have so many swigs.
I know, and you're like, come on, really?
Well,
that's the alternative.
Why wouldn't you? What, don't you guys have that in Washington?
They like their dirty Diet Coke. All right, it's fine. JJ, what's up, man? How you feeling? Everything good?
Yeah, it's great. Enjoying the Olympics.
Team USA doubles tennis, by the way. I did not have on the list that they'd be wearing the Lotto. When was the last time you saw a Lotto brand tennis gear?
Not everyone gets sponsored by Nike and Adidas.
I know, but Lotto? That's like an 80s, it's like Diodora or something, you know? When was the last time you saw it? Anyway, congrats. The medal count keeps going up for Team USA. We're really proud of them. Excited about it. We got a show to get to, though. Our program is always brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. It's not all just about Flavor Flav's net worth on this program, okay? We do other stuff, all right? So let's kick off the program. Let's get to the cut. That's how we start off the show. Let's do it right now.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, so this portion of the show also brought to you by Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. That's TrajanWealth.com. The strength of schedule. This is a cruel mistress, the strength of schedule discussion, JJ, because we have it every year, and I don't care if it's NBA, I don't care if it's college football, I don't care if it's the NFL. Although the NFL is funny because there's not really such a thing as like a strength of schedule in the end.
There's too much parity in the league.
Yeah, it's very close.
I mean, like, so if you're on the AFC and you get to play the NFC South this year, that's a benefit, right?
Yeah.
Instead of playing the NFC North, which would be pretty tough. So, but in college football, Alex, this is a byproduct of realignment. Is when you have so many teams in a conference. Used to be back in the day, what was there, 9-10 teams? So you play an 8-game schedule in a 9 or 10 team conference, and you get to play almost everybody, if not everyone in the league. Remember in Pac-12, I think Utah would only not play 2 teams on a rotation.
Right.
So you get the strength of schedule wasn't as big of a deal. But now you're in a league of 16 teams, and it's a massive deal. And you see both sides of that this year with Utah and BYU.
I wonder if, and here's the thing, is every year we're going to have this discussion whether or not you're, but it's all based off of a conversation of assuming how a team you think is going to be, like how strong are these teams going to be. And I get it. Here's the good news for Utah fans. Based off of just the paper grading, Colorado has a really, really tough road ahead. And you know why that is? Because Colorado's not very good.
Right.
I mean, that's the reality of it, right?
That's part of it.
And so when people go, dude, BYU's got a tough strength of schedule, it's also because BYU had a really, really rough year last year. And there are massive question marks as to where they are right now in that league. So half of the strength of schedule discussion, to me, either needs to be paid attention to a little bit more or just thrown out because you don't know if this team's any good yet. And you don't know how good or how bad some of these teams at the top of the league are. We're guessing, right? I mean, that's what all of it is. But handicapping like the strength of schedule is pretty interesting. BYU on this list that we're looking at from CBS Sports has the 5th hardest strength of schedule. And part of that is because their non-conference is difficult. They go to Wyoming, they go to SMU, and I think that there's a world where you could say both of that after those 2 games, because they start the season off against Southern Illinois down in Provo. They have an SMU and a Wyoming slate. Is that the first 3 games?
Yeah.
So there is a real not a likelihood, but there's a real world or possibility that you could say that they could be 1-2 at that point. Because why would it be an easy go in Laramie? Why an 11-win SMU team down in Dallas in a brand new conference themselves are looking to make a little bit of a name for themselves, and they'll do it on the back of a BYU team that they lost to in a bowl game 2 years ago. So why not? And so BYU's out of conference schedule is a tough one. But I'm okay with that. I'm fine with it. The world of college football right now, the way that BYU gets better is, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to soft pedal your way into the Big 12, into a Power 4 conference? This is what you asked for. I don't care what year it is. Utah definitely got a little bit of I don't know. Easy shake's not a thing to me, JJ. Like, all of these teams are going to be difficult. They don't have to face Kansas or Kansas State in the regular season. Fine. But guess what? Like, this is still a tough road for anybody who wants to get to the college football playoff.
There's no doubt about that. And you know what? It is true. Utah's schedule's easy. I'm going to come out and say it. It's not a hard schedule. Some may call it soft, but guess what? They didn't make it. They don't make the conference schedule. We understand the non-conference situation. You scheduled Baylor 5 years ago, you're thinking you're scheduling a Big 12 champion. Who knew that Baylor would stink
Right.
that quick, right? So when Utah scheduled that game, that looked like a really, really challenging non-conference game.
Who would have thought that those Florida teams that they scheduled years ago would have been like
Same thing.
kind of the down years for Billy Napier and the Gators?
You schedule who you think is going to challenge you and push you in the non-conference. You don't control any of that. As far as the conference goes, Utah couldn't control who was on their schedule, but man, are they benefiting from it? That's absolutely true. Oklahoma State on the road to open Big 12 play is extremely tough.
Yeah.
But after that, I mean, Arizona is at home. You don't play Kansas or Kansas State. And by the way, Kansas, Kansas State, and Arizona, their schedules are ranked easier than Utah's. Utah's
crazy.
13th, Arizona 14th, Kansas State 15th, and Kansas 16th.
So this is, again, these are the teams that are considered the best teams, minus Oklahoma State.
They're 10th, by the way.
So in the 10 through 16, 5 of those spots are taken up by the top 5 teams that are picked to
Right.
to finish in the top. Now, so is that because they are considered to be better teams, and so you look at it and you go, are we just talking about being favored? Because if you look at it and you go game by game, yeah, you're going to have Utah favored in most of those games. And so is that an easy strength of schedule then? Because if Utah had Kansas on their schedule, who would be favored to win that game?
Where is it being played?
Let's say it's played even in Lawrence.
Technically, it'd be at Arrowhead Stadium this
Oh,
year.
yeah, that's what I mean. Let's say it's in fake Lawrence.
You
and
it's probably a pick 'em, or you give Kansas the 1.5 if we're talking Vegas odds.
okay, and then if Kansas State had to come do what Iowa State's doing and come to Rice-Eccles Stadium, who would be favored in that game?
Utah.
By probably 4,
Not a lot.
right? 4 or 5.
Not a
you
lot.
get 3 at home.
Absolutely. I mean, probably go 3, 2.5, 3.
So yeah, so I think you would say if you were to do it like that, Utah would still be looked at as having better odds to beat even those teams that are right in front of them. Arizona is not going to be an easy game, but Utah doesn't have. I think it's interesting because this is unfortunately this is going to be what my friends at BYU will be like. Well, Utah got an easy schedule.
Oh, we've already heard.
We've already heard it.
You guys need to call out their difficult schedule.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah, I have. But what? BYU didn't pick their schedule. Utah didn't pick their schedule.
Right.
This is how it is, and a lot of the perception of whether your schedule's tough or not is where you're at currently.
Do you think the conversation with Mark Harlan went, all right, look, we'll come to the Big 12. You're welcome. If we do, you better give us the softest schedule on the planet. And Kyle Whittingham's in the back going, yup, you better. Like, no way, that's not how this goes. Kyle Whittingham is like, give me whomever. We will absolutely do it. Now, is there a game to be played? Is there a little bit of a scheduling thing that needs to be played? Yeah, but you know what? You do that. You play that game in the non-conference world. You're not able to really go through. You can't pick what you're going to be doing in conference play. So,
Especially with a 16-team league.
so what do? Do what TCU does. Play Stanford down in Fort Worth. ACC team.
By
right?
the way, picked to finish last in the ACC. The
Right.
ACC media poll that came out today.
Oh, no.
17th in the ACC for Stanford.
They're crying themselves to sleep with their trust funds underneath
Man.
them.
Oh, yeah. Wah.
So
I'm going to make $150,000 out of college. Wah.
So in the end, by the way, the teams that are considered the worst in the conference: Houston, Arizona State, Colorado. They have the quote unquote toughest schedules, right? Oh, the toughest schedule. You know why? Because Colorado could very well, and I don't know. Hey, Jeremy, you still got your guy on speed dial?
What do you think?
What's that line on that FCS game against North Dakota State?
I think we checked about a touchdown, but I'll give it a quick look.
But I'm telling you, whatever it is, you better circle that one. Colorado will not be ready for that game. Even if Shedeur Sanders is having a decent game, the rest of the team will. I think it's hilarious that they go, best quarterback in the conference, worst team in the conference. I've never seen something like that.
Social media is going to melt down when North Dakota State beats them.
Can't wait.
8.5 right now.
Oh, call your guy.
Which way?
I'm telling.
I know.
There's no way Colorado wins that game by 9 points, right?
No chance.
That's a wins in overtime by a field goal type of feel.
Yeah, that's going to be a nervous Saturday.
Right. And so Arizona State, that's a bad team, and they have the second hardest schedule. Because when you're Arizona State, guess what you have to do? You have to play at Mississippi State, right? And a team like Texas State, who normally you look at and go, that's an easy one. They go, hold on, wait for the what are they? The Bobcats? Here come the Bobcats. That's a way better FBS team than you're going to get. That's like playing
Arizona
UTSA.
State's non-conference is sneaky hard.
That's what I'm saying.
Wyoming, Mississippi State, and Texas State.
Okay, again, if that schedule was Utah, no one would blink an eye. You'd go 3-0, right? Even going to Wyoming, which the Utes have to do next year?
Yeah,
or the year after. Utah would be favored in all those games. But Arizona State could be 0-3 in that stretch between Wyoming, Mississippi State, and Texas State. You see what I'm saying? The strength of schedule really is how good is your team?
Do you know who has the hardest schedule? It's West Virginia. Look at this list.
Yeah, and that's a team that bucks the trend that I'm talking about, which is a better team. Usually those good teams are at the bottom of the quote-unquote easier schedule. They have a tough one.
I think they got Pittsburgh and Penn State in the non-conference, and then they've got 5 straight conference title contenders: Kansas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas State, Arizona.
Hey, no Utah. They got an easy schedule. They don't have to play Utah. But
that's the only relief they get because they're playing everybody else at the top.
And that's wild. Now for BYU, Kansas State, Arizona, Oklahoma State, and Kansas, all of those teams you've got to face. Now, the good news is you get Kansas State and Arizona at home. And Oklahoma State, right? And Kansas. So all of those are tough games, but every one of those. Am I wrong?
Yeah, their hardest games are at home. That's going to help them. That'll give BYU a shot.
Okay, when did BYU kind of figure it out last year?
Oklahoma.
Last couple games of the season.
I felt like they played really well against Oklahoma.
And it really took them
one mistake to find that game, but they played really well against that team.
Yeah. My kid and I were watching the I said, "Did you see how the bronze medal match ended up with Team USA in Australia?" He's like, "No, we watched it." And he goes, "Oh." He goes, "That you know what happened? They just got Retzlaffed." I went, "You can't do." I said, "Buddy, that's too soon."
Now.
That's too soon, bro. Why would you do that?
Sick burn.
Nah, that's a kid who's watched a lot of BYU football in his day. So, it's like the thing where it's like he can make fun of his team, but I can't. Because if I would have said that to him, he'd have been like, all right, well, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm not doing this.
Well, if a Utah fan says that, you're irate.
Oh, yeah. He would be for sure. But he made the joke, and guess what? That's exactly the comparison. Like, how do you describe that? Well, they could have just made a tackle, and that would have been the end of the match. But there you go. What I'm saying is don't. We've already been caught up a little bit in the strength of schedule talk. The strength of schedule talk is so weird because we don't know where these teams really are. Here's the good news. I don't know how to handicap a wins and losses with a BYU team, even though we try to do it. We've done it a handful of times already. We did it at the very end of the season. We did it at the very beginning of spring. I would assume we're going to do the same thing after we kind of know who the starting quarterback is. And let's cross your fingers because it's not a very fun activity when they go, well, you'll find out who's going to start this week against Southern Illinois. And maybe we're going to have a 3 quarterback rotation. You don't know.
Better brace for that stuff.
And that's the kind of stuff. See, and once we get the season started up and we get Riley Nelson on every Friday for our Football Fridays and he and Sly get to chop it up with us, you talk about a guy who's been in the middle of a locker room with a quarterback battle before.
He's lived it.
And that's an awkward space.
Every single year he played.
It's an awkward space to be in. You throw in there the injury stuff because we're not even talking about injury. We're just talking about BYU's inability right now to have like a number one quarterback or to feel like somebody has taken over that spot as the number one quarterback. So the strength of schedule stuff, it is hard for me to really grasp because I don't know how good some of these teams are, especially the ones in the very middle. Your Texas Techs and West Virginia, do they kind of go backward? And did they just shock some people?
West Virginia, I think, is good, but with that schedule, maybe they do go a little backwards.
Do they end up being a 6-6 team this year when last year they were a 9-3 team?
I think the schedule favored them last year.
Yeah.
It's the flip side this year.
I don't know. So what I'm saying is the good news for Utah fans is this list is showing you that you're going to be favored in the majority of your games. So whether or not you want to make that a quote-unquote easier schedule, fine. If BYU were a better team, would they be further up the list than just number 5? If BYU was as talented, had a marquee quarterback, and was playing Kansas State, Arizona, Oklahoma State, and Kansas, but we went, but they get them all at home, we'd be having a totally different conversation.
Yeah,
we'd be going, they get them all at home. That's almost a tiny bit of relief, but doesn't really feel good for BYU fans still. So I think that the strength of schedule thing needs to be looked at with a massive grain of salt. All right. Kansas has the quote unquote easiest run, but Kansas, if Jalen Daniels doesn't get his act together, they don't have a good backup like they did last year.
They've got 6 conference games against teams that missed a bowl last season. 6 of their 9 conference games are against bowlless teams.
Bowlless.
They're bowlless.
How dare you?
Is that a word? Did I just create a word?
We've been cut off of the knees. We've been castrated of our bowl. Yeah. Look, 6 teams that missed bowl games last year. But there were also teams last year that made the bowl games that you were like, I didn't have any idea if that was going to be a bowl team or not. Come on, so who's going to be this year's West Virginia? Is that going to be Texas Tech this year?
I think TCU could be that.
Could that be TCU? Could that be UCF, who's also kind of under the radar, sneaky good?
Oh, yeah.
Or at least sneaky talented. They play Utah, Arizona at home. They get Utah at home the last regular season game of the year. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. I'm just saying, Utah fans don't think that it's going to be such an easy road. BYU fans, don't assume that because you have a quote-unquote tough schedule that you can't make inroads, because those the toughest games you have, minus Utah, is going to be at home, okay? So that's good news. That's good news for you. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. When we do, we've got tons going on today, and we're going to jump in. We've got some Utah Hockey Club talk. You ready for this?
Go hockey.
Yeah, playoff odds. You know what we're doing? I'm going to be honest. All we do with hockey is we're educating ourselves along the way on this thing. Like we're studying this thing right along with you guys. So when somebody says, "Hey, playoff odds for hockey teams," I've never looked at preseason playoff odds in the NHL in my life. You?
Not until the day.
So let's go over them and let's see if you're being fair to the Utah Hockey Club by just assuming that they're going to be skating their way into the playoffs. Or should we give it a couple more years? All right, stay right here. More to go around the corner. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Oh, I was fascinated with those infomercials when I was a kid. The Ron Popeil, the food dehydrator, the pocket fisherman, and Rafael Nadal just reminded me, because he's losing some up top. How's Nadal, 39, 40?
Yeah, he's in that range.
But you remember Ron Popeil had the spray-on hair called GLH. Great-looking hair.
He's 38.
He's 38? Yeah, like might as well be 50 in tennis years. How dare you?
Does Ron Popeil make a spray-on man bun?
He's like, nowadays, I mean, do you ever see those videos on Instagram where they have those, because the toupees nowadays are lit. It's like they can really dial them in. Nadal needs that. The GLH was like the one they'd spray on.
Yeah. Carlos Boozer used that for his beard once.
Boozer, Giuliani, those guys were both spokespeople for the spray-on hair, I feel like. Oh, my gosh. All right, welcome back to the program. Hey, today's Wednesday. You know what that means? Still have another day to get your nominations in for the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Here's how it works. The Hercules Hero of the Week, you nominate a youth sports volunteer in your area who does a phenomenal job and doesn't get the recognition. You can give them that recognition. Go to KSLSports.com/contests, and then every Thursday, JJ and I read that winner off for you. What do they get? A Visa gift card from Hercules Credit Union, and they also get a gift card from Beehive Meals as well to enjoy the Beehive Meals. So you can give that to them. We read that nomination on the air. They get that recognition, so it's very, very cool. It's awesome. Brought to you by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Just go to KSLSports.com/contests. All right, the Utah Hockey Club. We're back talking some more hockey. We're getting into that space where now explain the odds to me, Jeremy. I'm not the degenerate gambler like you. When it says the Utah Hockey Club odds to make the playoffs, to make them they're a plus 190.
It means not likely.
Not great.
Yeah, anything plus is it.
Yeah.
Go the other way. I think it's 70% chance to not make the playoffs.
Not make it. Okay, that's not great, right?
It's a 70.6% likelihood of not making the playoffs.
Okay.
So they got a 1 in 3 shot.
All right. So you're in the upper 20. You're up in the upper 29% chance of making the playoffs. If you were to ask hockey fans, just based off of how much we talked about this team and how the team had a pretty good go last year, and then the season sort of fell apart when they realized the writing was on the wall that their ownership wasn't going to come through and they were going to have to probably move. All that kind of contributed to them not making a push for the playoffs. But if you were to tell a Utah fan, like, hey, do you think, is this team supposed to be any good? Just based off of how much we've talked about it, I think people would just assume that it'd be like a 60-40 chance of them getting in versus not getting in. But obviously, part of what goes into it is that in the NHL, making the playoffs has to do with kind of where you land in your division, and they are in a very difficult division, JJ.
It's the toughest division in hockey, if you ask me. Some people might argue that the Metropolitan in the East is just as tough. The Atlantic is pretty good too, but you look at the top of the Central Division in the Western Conference. You got the Dallas Stars, who are in the conference title. They had 113 points last year, I believe. That was one short of the Rangers. So the Stars had the second most points in the league, number 1 in the West. The Winnipeg Jets had the second most points in the West, also in their division, 110. The Colorado Avalanche, who won a cup recently, they were fourth in the West, 107 points. This is just in their division. Those 3 teams are really, really good. Now, who you got to catch is probably Nashville. Nashville had 99 points last year. Compare that to the 77 that the Arizona Coyotes had last year, who are now, obviously, the Utah Hockey Club. That's a 22-point gap you'd have to make up to get that 4th spot in the Central. And Nashville just went on an off-season spending frenzy. They just added a bunch of free agents. They were the team that made the biggest splash in free agency. So you have the 3 of the top teams in hockey, in the Stars, Jets, and Avalanche. Mm-hmm. And then you add the Preds. That's a 20-point gap that Utah would have to close to get to the playoffs to pass up Nashville. It's not going to happen. It's a lot to ask. And the Blues are improving too. They just barely missed out with 92 points. That's why there's a 70% chance they don't make the playoffs. So while this team is going to be really good and really fun, and I think they do really well at home, although, how the home ice is not that big of a deal, but I think they're really going to take off at home and do really well. I don't think that this team should be predicted to make the playoffs. I just don't think they're there yet.
I think that they're being smart about, here's the thing, too. They've made some tremendous signings, right? You think about how good the defense has gotten, and it was already a defensive core, a bunch of guys who who are younger, who people really like what they saw. But then they added a lot of those. They added some really phenomenal veteran leadership to that blue line. And then you're seeing just a ton of guys who've been added to this team or extended on this team that make this a really, really exciting conversation to have. But it also shows how difficult the NHL is, right? And you saw, of course, the news today. I don't know what that's going to affect with the, hearing that there's an ECHL tie now, not to the team over here across town because that's the Colorado Avalanche ECHL affiliate.
Yeah, I thought it was I think it was notable. It was only a 1-year deal with the Allen Americans.
So was it just so they could have an affiliation with an ECHL team?
Correct.
Okay.
And it's a 1-year deal. Typically, these deals are not 1-year deals. They're typically multi-year deals, which is why the Grizzlies have that association with the Avs, and that's a contract that can't be broken. It makes a lot of geographic sense for the Utah Grizzlies to be the ECHL affiliate. I think at this point, the Grizzlies would like to be their affiliate because a lot of fans here would have extra interest in going out and watching the Utah Grizzlies if they have Utah Hockey Club prospects.
Who owns an ECHL? Like, who owns the ECHL team here? It'd be separate ownership. Obviously, it is now, but I'm saying
it's the Elmore Sports Group.
But would that be something that Ryan Smith would say, "Hey, we want to buy that from you"? Like, is that
yeah?
Okay. I just don't know, like what those relationships are like.
I'm going to speculate. This is not reporting. This is speculation. That Sports Entertainment Group would love to purchase the Utah Grizzlies, but they have to be for sale, and I don't know if the Elmore Sports Group wants to do that. I think that SEG would offer over market value in order to make that happen because it makes too much sense for the Utah Hockey Club to have their AHL affiliate here in town. Mm-hmm. I'm not just talking about ECHL. I'm talking about American Hockey League. AHL team. Right now, their team is in Tucson, but we know that the Roadrunners, who are owned by the old Coyotes owner, Morello, they're going to move to Reno.
And he's maintaining the ownership of that group.
Correct. So there's going to be some shuffling here. This next year, it's going to be what it is currently. There's going to be a lot of shuffling here and a lot of movement. I can't speak to what the Elmore Sports Group wants to do with the franchise. I'm sure it makes a lot of sense that Smith Entertainment Group would be interested in purchasing the Grizzlies and the Maverick Center. By the way, that's part of the deal, Salt Lake City Stars play in the Maverick Center.
Right. Wasn't that also, that would have to be part of the deal, right?
I would assume so. So, not going to happen right now, but 6 to 12 months down the road, don't be surprised if something like that happens. It just makes too much sense for everybody involved.
Well, it's the farm system that you have to kind of get. That's the stuff has to get figured out. This is a team. This Utah Hockey Club is looked at as having a strong farm system, and whatever that looks like going forward to maintain that, to keep that. Ryan Smith and Smith Entertainment Group are going to try to figure out how to keep that pipeline going, and the guys that they're signing are signing as Roadrunners, right? That's the whole thing. Is like if you're going to be,
they're just going to stay with their junior hockey clubs, or they're going to stay in college.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. You don't want to lose any kind of development time with these guys, and so I was going to ask about that. I didn't know if the 1-year deal was going to, if that meant for sure, like, hey, that's just buying this year for a minute just to kind of get things before they shake out, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, a lot of those guys that signed those rookie tenders, they're going to end up playing for the Roadrunners. There's no doubt.
Bill Armstrong was on Hans and Scotty yesterday, and I think that it was good because he sort of tempered expectations when it comes to what this team needs to be kind of aiming for. And that's not to say that they don't have high hopes, but certainly it's a difficult road to just try to get to the playoffs in the first place.
No, probably not at that. We're, and the way that we look at it is we're fourth year under the rebuild. and we're coming out. We got some good pieces. Obviously there's still some growing to be done by the Coolies and the Gunthers of the world, and there's still some steps to be taken before we're a bona fide team that's going to walk in and say, hey, listen, you're going to have to make the playoffs. We expect you to make the playoffs. We're still part of the rebuild coming out. We still got young players, and we're getting there. We hope to be a better team than we were last year, a more competitive team. I get excited about this group because they're young, they can score. We've got some good goaltending and Ingi and Vejmelka. So the fans are going to, like our team. We've just got to kind of grow organically and make that next step. And that's a part of, I think we're going to be one of the youngest teams in the National Hockey League and just trying to take a next step.
What's funny is I look at this team and I think that, general managers, they do this a lot where they hedge, right? And it's not to be, they're not trying to lower expectations, I don't think. I think it's trying to normalize that this is a really, really tough division, and they've got a lot of work to do. And there's no version of them not doing all that work. But what's funny is that nowadays we do want to see some, like, oh, yeah, you're not just going to have success overnight. We're not going to skip steps. And people are like, other people do. Other sports do. How can you skip those steps? And we've seen other teams, whether or not it's skipping steps or not, or getting a little bit lucky, a little bit like we do look at Vegas and go, well, how can that be what Team USA does? What the hockey club here in Utah does? It's not necessarily something that you have to think can just happen. It just doesn't happen like that.
The Toronto Maple Leafs have been skipping steps often, and it has never led them to a cup. Like there is something to be said about patience. And you look at the NBA side. I know it's apples and oranges. NBA and NHL are different. But 16 teams make the playoffs in each league. The Phoenix Suns tried to skip steps. How'd that go? First round exit. You know what I mean? Like there's something to be said about patience. It's a lot to ask your fans to be patient. And it's pretty cool here that instead of asking these fans for 4 years of patience, kind of like what the Utah Jazz are doing, being honest, we're only having to be asked for 1 year of patience with this hockey club before we really think this thing's going to take off. I mean, you're not going to, and it's going to be fun. Year one's going to be fun no matter what. And then year two, you can look forward to saying, you know what? This team is still going to have cap space. All these young players are going to get another year better. They're going to be ready to go. Who knows what that means 2 years from now, but this year, they're going to be fun, and I think they will be competing. I think they'll be close to that 8th spot. That's a wild card spot. So for people that don't know, the top 3 teams from each division go to the playoffs, and then there are the 2 wild card spots. So that's how that works. And last year, 2 in each
in both the West and the East, right?
Correct. And last year, the Vegas Golden Knights, and I believe it was the Kings. Was it the Kings or Predators? Either one. So that's why I keep talking about, if you break into that top 4 in your division, you got a really good shot. And that's why I brought up Nashville. You're going to have to edge out Nashville. So if it was this year, you would have had to edge out the Preds or the Knights, and they're just not there yet. So it's not easy to make the playoffs. Even though half the league makes the playoffs, it's not easy.
I just wonder if there's, if there's a spot for this team to kind of, if you think in year one that you have to have a playoff team, obviously that's not the case. But I will say this. You got that beautiful arena across the street. And if the two teams, it's like you already know what the Jazz's situation is going to look like next year, right? So then if you have these two teams and neither of them make it to the playoffs, the fan base is like, can we do something to at least... Here's the good news is that I don't think the Utah Hockey Club is further down. If you were to look at the rebuild kind of map or timeline, the Jazz are 2 or 3 years behind the Utah Hockey Club when it comes to development and being in those kind of down years and trying to figure things out. And the NBA and the NHL are obviously very, very different. But if you're anticipating that either of these teams are going to win championships anytime soon, the answer is probably not. But the good news is you have an ownership group. And by the way, GMs and top office brass people who know what the hell they're doing, right? I mean, that's something that not every. I mean, that's the Dallas Cowboys how it goes every year with their shenanigans.
When the owner's the GM, that's not good.
Really dumb. So,
Or the Suns are in a similar situation right now.
oh my gosh, Matt Ishbia is just doubling down on. It's just crazy. So, good news is it's in good hands. It's going to take a minute. All right, we'll take a break. We've got more to go around the corner. We'll bring back maybe a chunk more of that audio of Bill Armstrong maybe a little bit later in the program. In the meantime, we've got a Would You Rather right around the corner. Stay with us. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody! Real life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody. Welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. I don't even know who this doubles team is from the U.S., but they beat Rafael Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz.
It's pretty impressive.
To move on to the semis. I never get because like Coco Gauff and her doubles partner, they lost today. Or yesterday, or what day are we on? At some point, they lost within the last 24 hours. All right? And Katie Ledecky is still... At some point, does Katie Ledecky just go, I'm going to come back to the Olympics every year just to do the 1,500 because it's going to take a few years. She'll start falling off. She won. What did she end up winning the 1,500 by today? 10?
Wow.
She won in her heats. She won like 15, 18 seconds. You win a race in any sport. This is the freaking Olympics where hundredths of a second or thousandths of a second count. She can go till she's 50 at this rate and still be up there. The person who's going to beat Katie Ledecky at the 1,500 meters might already be born, maybe. We'll see. But invite her back, all the Olympics. I know everybody's like, oh, is this going to be your last Olympics? She's 27, man. I don't know. What is that in swim years? Jeremy, you're our water expert.
Kind of up there.
Kind of up there.
I think her gold medal was the oldest by a USA female swimmer.
Oh, okay. So 27
Wow.
is up there. So 27, you better make hay. It's not gymnastics age where they're like, Simone Biles, 24? Jeez. Get her a knee brace. You know, when they're like...
That's why she's doing Manjaro commercials.
She's like, I'm just anticipating. It's like the Russian...
Just advertising to her demographic.
the Russian figure skaters, man, they're like, well, she blew it. She's 14. You know that next Olympics, she's going to basically be a geriatric. 18 years old. We can't have her on the team. How dare you? All right. What do we have here? Oh, yeah. Would you rather? Life moves fast. Quantum fiber internet is faster. Move to tomorrow speed today. QuantumFiber.com. That's QuantumFiber.com. Would you rather have stability at quarterback with a young guy with multiple years possibly behind him, but no bowl game, or you rotate through multiple quarterbacks, but you get to 6-6 this year? I'm talking about BYU, JJ. I'm not talking about...
I see what you're getting at here.
Okay. So...
This is not going to be popular with BYU fans. I want to find my quarterback for the future.
So you have the solid choice of a young quarterback in your back pocket, but you guys go 5-7 this year.
I'm okay with that.
Versus piecemealing together a 7-5 season.
Because if I'm BYU fan, I do not want to have to go through another situation like this again next fall where you don't know who your leader is.
Here's the thing. You won't. I think what happens is, bro, get to 7-5 with 3 quarterbacks.
How you doing that?
You get a couple wins apiece. Here's what you do. Here's my plan for BYU fans. You ready for this? Again, you're not going to like it. Retzlaff gets a couple starts. Bohannon gets a couple starts out of being forced to. And then by game 7 or 8, McKay Hillstead's familiar with the offense. He's the new starter. Is that an insane thought that could happen?
No.
And then they win. They win 3 out of their last 4 games.
I think that's a very strong possibility that happens. I just don't know that gets you to a bowl game.
But see, here's the thing.
Because if the other 2 aren't in the lineup long, that means things are not going well.
Well,
that would be a bad sign as far as wins go.
How many quarterbacks did Utah use last year? 7?
Yeah.
They had one transfer out in the middle of the year. I think they were the definition of quarterback problems last year, right?
Well, they had an elite defense that picked up the slack. And by the end, did you watch the bowl game? Gross. The Utah team that showed up for the bowl game sucked.
No, but as soon as you saw the opponent, you were like, anyway, see you guys next year.
Did you see the Arizona game?
Yeah,
it didn't go well,
see you next year. All right. But I'm just saying,
you
they won 8 games.
Quarterback 4, quarterback 5, you're in trouble.
They won 8 games and were legitimately in that game to ruin Washington's perfect season. So, give me the 7-5 BYU team, not knowing exactly who your quarterback is. But my caveat is that they know the last 4 games. That they do have, that it takes them those 8 games to really figure it out. Maybe they go, 3-5, and then they win a couple, 3 more at the end there.
Well, I'll say this. If Gary Bohannon is the best quarterback, and he's the same Gary Bohannon that was starting at Baylor,
why not?
Then all bets are off. This team could far exceed expectations, and you're okay with that because you're winning and you're moving forward as a program with a quarterback that just has one great year. But does that help you moving forward? Does it help you get the experience you need in that room? Do you have to go back into the portal and get another super senior? Didn't work last year.
I've got another Would You Rather real quick before we get out because Sam Farnsworth is going to join us from, checks notes, Paris, France, not Texas.
Don't forget our good friends in Paris, Idaho, who are listening right now.
Is that a place?
Absolutely.
Is it
up
really?
By Montpelier. It's up by Bear Lake, yeah.
Oh, Montpelier. Yeah. Montpellier. That's French. Also French.
Exactly.
There you go. All right, we're going to take a break here. We'll come back. Well, I did want to throw this one out, though. Win a bronze medal in sevens for the women's Olympic team, or win a silver for North Korea and have to go back to North Korea.
I think you know the answer to that.
All right, we're going to come back, talk with Sam next. We'll ask him. I'm just kidding. All right, more to go around the corner, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hello, America. This is Sergei Popov with an official Mother Russia medal count update, Paris 2024. Looks like, still 0. Back to you, chubby American broadcaster.
I think he was talking to you, JJ. Why would they say that?
That was rude.
Why would they say that?
A little bitter you're not in the Olympics? Russia, bro?
Oh, it's a real shame. Russia's got to be seeing that North Korea won a silver medal and be like, they invite them, huh? We don't get invite. No, you don't. You got to play nice.
Stop invading countries.
You got to play nice in the world. Otherwise, you can't play with the rest of the world. All right? Wake up. I think we're going to be getting Sam Farnsworth here in the next few minutes. We'll see what the thoughts are here. Team USA in the 3x3 is in a bad way right now. Losing their first 2 matches, including today against Poland. And I think Jimmer, when he was on our program a couple weeks ago at Big 12 Media Day, mentioned that Poland is a pretty decent team.
Yeah.
Serbia is either in that 1 or 2 slot, but so is Team USA. And right now they're 0-2 to start things off. And Jimmer went off the court today banged up. So this is not good. This is not a good situation for Team USA and their 3x3 medal hopes. So we'll see. We'll get to Sam in just a minute here. Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. So there you go. G2G Bars. Give them a shot today. Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, all in the refrigerated section. And let's kick off the hours we always do with the cut. We'll jump in right here.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And for an incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram, visit your Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Great service starts with know-how. Nobody knows like Doug. Sam Farnsworth joining us live from the Paris Olympics. Sam, we were just talking about how there are multiple Parises across the United States. Are there any American Fork or Spanish Forks in France?
2 Spanish Forks. I found an American Fork in Spain, which is kind of odd,
very
right?
weird. Yeah. Well, we're looking at Team USA and their 3x3 shots of getting a medal, and I know that you were just witness to this whole thing. Team USA 0-2 already in their play in this. I would assume, aside from Jimmer also going out with a little bit of an injury, what do we know right now about Jimmer's injury, and what do we know about Team USA and their 3x3 shot? Do they still have the ability to be able to work their way back to medal contention?
So first, with the Jimmer question, I received an answer I've never received from a PR before, but the USA basketball PR guy. So basically, the way it's set up at the Olympics is you have something called a mixed zone, right, where all of the different affiliates, the non-rights holders, they can set up their cameras, and the print media can line up, and all of the athletes are required to walk through this area, win, lose, draw, whatever the result. They're required to, after every performance, walk through this area to answer potential questions from the media. So I see Team USA walking out of the arena toward the mixed zone. Jimmer immediately takes a left turn and walks just away from us with a team trainer, not just by himself. He was with a team trainer. He was covering his face with a towel. Didn't have a jersey on. He had his face buried in a towel, or maybe it was his face buried in. Hard to tell if he was emotional or something or not, but he walked off with a team trainer. And I talked to his teammates who were coming through the mix zone, and Maddox told me, look, I'm not worried about Jimmer. He's a warrior. I expect him to be out there tomorrow. They have 2 games on the schedule tomorrow. I asked the PR guy, hey, is Jimmer coming out here? Is he going to make his rounds through here? And he just shook his head. He said, no, he went off with the trainer. Status quo. I'm like, status quo? What does that even mean, man? That doesn't help me.
He just says words. He goes, yes, c'est la vie. And then moves on.
Working on my English.
He just says a couple things in a different language. Oh, c'est la vie. Oh,
right.
ACS, just like moves on. Don't just
Bonjour?
I don't think he knows. He's like, excuse me, I don't think you know what status quo means based off of the way you just used it. Well, so, obviously, it's a rough start, but can they work their way back to some sort of semblance of winning? And can they – I don't know how it works. It's not the same as group play as you see in some of these other things. And these games are very quick. I mean, they last 10, 15 minutes, and it's over. And for Team USA, they've lost their first 2. Right,
and that's huge. And Canyon Barry, afterwards, he was telling me, look, it's not like 5-on-5. He said, we missed all our 2s tonight. Difference is, in 5-on-5, that's 1 quarter. We can come back, we can shots and get back in it and win a game. But with 3x3, you miss your shots. And that was kind of the big reason tonight why they lost. I thought the big reason was not only poor shooting, but just awful defense. If you guys watched his game as well, it was just terrible defense by Jimmer included. And now, they're in a hole. They're in a hole, 2-0. I got to look at all the standings to really see what the possibilities are. I haven't looked at all the standings yet, but with the 2 games tomorrow and 2 wins tomorrow, they still will be alive and in contention. And they believe so. They believe that they can get those 2 wins tomorrow and get back on track. But man, these first 2 games sure haven't been what we thought they would be.
All right, let's do something here real quick, Sam. We're going to have Jeremy call you because we're getting some gargly goop here on the connection. So I think it's just us. I think we're bad luck. So Jeremy's going to call Sam back here. Yeah, it's good to know that they're back. They're still in contention, I guess, JJ. I mean, the whole
There's
thing
still a chance, with the way that the group play works.
I don't really know.
There's the bottom 2 are eliminated in their group. So there's still chances to get to those medal rounds. Probably because of the format with the shorter games. It would be very punitive to penalize a team for losing a couple, right?
Right, because there's some days they do play 2. There's a couple times they're playing 2. I think they're playing 2 tomorrow, and they're playing 2 again on maybe Friday. But either way, they just have, it's a ton of games to play, and they're quick. Okay, let's get back to Sam Farnsworth here. So a little, they're in the hole here. They're a little depressed. Obviously, they got a little bit of they got the target on the back in their group. But also, we were just talking about how Serbia has. Well, Sam dropped again. Serbia, it has 3 of the top 10 teams in the entire country. I mean, in the entire world. They have 3 teams playing in the Olympics from Serbia. This is a really, really deep team there, and I think that we all just went, oh well, Jimmer and Team USA, they don't lose in basketball, so obviously they'll try to figure it out. I don't know. We're still trying to get Sam on the horn here. All right, Sam, I assume it's this time of night everybody's trying to call their local radio stations who they have an affiliation with, right? Is that what's going on?
Oh, 100%. I'm just surrounded by people calling their local affiliates right now, Look, I don't know what the deal is, guys. There's something conspiring against us, trying to create radio magic. Yeah. And something is conspiring against us, but we will fight through.
Sam, we're not going to let the radio devil win.
The radio devil.
We're going to keep the fight alive.
We will not.
Speaking of the devil, no, I'm not going to say any. I'm not going to be insulting to other countries here. But the Olympics overall, it's been fun, and you're right in the thick of it. You're engrossing it 24/7. What is everyone talking about out there? What has been the moments or the athletes that have really captured everyone's attention over there at the events while you're talking to other journalists or fans or whatever it might be?
Yeah, I mean, clearly we kind of have a USA angle here, right? And a lot of the journalists that we're around are also covering the United States. But the big story, I think, from my perspective, so far, week 1 of the Olympics would be Simone Biles and the USA gymnastics team. That would be the number 1 story, I think, at this point. Winning the gold after having come up short in Tokyo with the silver as a team. Simone making history with the number of overall medals she has now won as a gymnast, which is, most in U.S. gymnastics history. So for me, that's the number 1 story. And she's going to win more medals, probably, right? Most likely she's going to win more medals and just really cement her name in history. But for me personally, and I know you guys have probably talked about it a lot already, but man, rugby sevens is pretty darn cool. And what Spiff Cedric did yesterday in that bronze medal match was just magical, right? That's one of those moments that's going to live in Olympic history for a long, long time in the United States. It's going to be one of those plays that is replayed over and over again in Olympics to come, and to come from one of our local athletes, a girl who grew up in Utah, who was in gymnastics as a kid growing up and didn't start playing rugby until she was an older teenager, for her to have that moment on that big of a stage, for me, that's just awesome. That's what the Olympics are all about. And you saw the emotion. That's for a bronze medal, right? And I think a lot of us grow up, you think, first place or everything else is last, right? You take second, you take third. It's like, oh, that's not good. Well, the Olympics, it's different. And all the emotion that just poured out of her and her teammates for winning a bronze medal, that's just what it's all about. And so for me, that is still to this point just the moment of the Olympic Games. And, I hope there's more of those. I hope there's a lot more of those. We still have about halfway to go and really looking forward to more moments like that.
Have there been, when we see people performing well and you go, oh, but were they supposed to win that medal? Or have there been people who have outperformed? Obviously, the women's, the rugby sevens, like you were talking about, got that bronze medal, and it was an upset over, Australia. I mean, from what I was reading, they're like, no, Australia is one of these world-class teams that they always have a hard time with. The U.S. has had a hard time with in the past. And so, but are there other events where it's like, oh, the U.S. is, overperforming maybe what the anticipation was? I saw that the biggest upset of the entire game so far, possibly, and this was going off of a conversation we had about table tennis yesterday, China, for the first time since the year 2000, will not have the gold and silver winners in the men's singles category because a guy from Sweden upset the world number one Chinese player, and I thought, oh, that's a pretty cool thing. Are there things like that going on for the Team USA? Are there people who are overperforming what the expectations were?
I think one of the people that we thought would be solid here at the Olympic Games, I don't know that we necessarily thought she would win a medal. For me, and it's another local, is Park City's Haley Batten, who she won the silver medal in the cross-country mountain biking race a couple days ago. And the way she won it, like the gold medalist was from France. She pulled away. She was well in the lead, won with ease. But the way Haley Batten won was just like one of those classic, back and forth battles that you see in any type of racing, whether it's auto racing or a long distance run or whatever it is, where one person takes the lead, then the next takes the lead. And that was Haley Batten's race. And then she found that opening in that last quarter of a lap or so and just hit the gas and just kind of blew past the person she was jockeying with and just accelerated to the finish line. That's one of them for me. And then for outperforming, probably overperforming, that moment is going to stick out to me. There's another moment that stands out to me. You could say underperforming. Chloe Dygert, and she was also a cyclist in the individual women's time relay. She was supposed to, I don't know if she was supposed to win gold, but she was in position to win gold. And it was a wet day. And she hit this stretch where the smooth road hits cobblestone. And you combine that with the water, and she wrecked hard. And if you know Chloe Dygert's story, about 3 or 4 years ago, she had a severe wreck where she almost lost her leg completely. And she's medaled in 2 previous Olympics. So this is kind of like her farewell tour. And for her to go down like that, it was like, oh, it's all over. But she battled back and she was able to climb into silver medal position. And it was just an amazing performance from her as well.
Well, you look at dominance in the Olympics, and I think that always captures our attention as well, is when one athlete is just hands down better than the rest, generational. I mean, Simone Biles, you already mentioned her, obviously a superstar and one of the biggest names in sports. But how about Katie Ledecky winning an 8th gold and absolutely destroying everybody today? Where does that place her all time among swimmers, and how big of a story is that over there?
I mean, she's probably the greatest all-time female swimmer in American history, maybe in the world, right? What she's been able to do from a young age to where she is now, where you might consider her older, right, as an athlete, to still be one of the best in the world, to still be, contending for gold medals or just medals, to still be pushing time barriers and things like that. It's just remarkable what she's been able to do. There's a reason why she's been the face of United States swimming for the past, 3 Olympic Games. And here she is here in Paris doing it all over again. It's just one of those wow stories, right? That you just, every American knows who she is because of what she's done in the last few Olympic Games. And so she's like must-see television. She's appointment television. You're tuning in to see Katie Ledecky race here in Paris. You're tuning in to see if she can do it again, if she can get that 8th medal, which she got, if she can, add more to that number. So she's just one of those stories that is going to, again, to use that cliche, it's going to live forever in Olympic lore.
Sam Farnsworth joining us from Paris. It's coming up on we're past midnight for you. How's the schedule been for you guys? I know this is a little bit of a later night than you've been doing because Team USA 3x3 was they had their game at 2:30 here locally. So what has the schedule been like up and down, and what would you describe kind of a normal day looks like for you?
For me, I think I've kind of found my routine. I don't know that I necessarily like the routine, but I've gotten used to it where I can manage, and I'm actually not that exhausted. So basically I would be probably getting to bed within the next hour. So between 1:30 a.m. Paris time, I wake up at about 4:30 a.m. Paris time. I jump on a shuttle at 5 a.m. That takes me over to our live shot location, just, in the shadows of the Eiffel Tower. I get there a little after 5, set up for my shot. I go live at 6 a.m., which is 10 p.m. Mountain time. So tonight in Utah at 10 p.m. will be tomorrow morning for me, or just in a few hours, I guess. And then after that, I come back to the hotel, maybe have a little breakfast, and then I crash for another 3 or 4 hours. And then I get up and go about my day doing mixed medal-winning interviews or going to whatever events we have on the schedule. So I'm starting to get used to it. I was talking to Alex Cabrera earlier today, and he's done, like 8 Olympics now? The guy's an Olympics legend at KSL and in Utah. He's got it down. He gets how to do it. And I'm like, I think I've got my routine, Alex. I think I've figured it out for this one. And so it's kind of strange, but it is what it is. I'll tell you what, those first 2-3 days were just brutal though, because we had the announcement of the Salt Lake games, that IOC vote. And it was just wall to wall. We were hanging on 2 hours per night, of sleep. But it is what it is. I'm not going to complain, because this is, what am I doing? I'm here in Paris following the Olympics. I mean, I never would have dreamed this when I thought I would pursue broadcast journalism decades ago. But here I am. I'm enjoying it. It's been a good time.
Yeah, it's a bucket list experience. I enjoyed doing Tokyo despite the pandemic and all those challenges that we had there. It's one of those things you've got to do at least once. I'd encourage anybody that's listening to make if you're able to make a trip to an Olympic Games or take part of it, even if it's in 2034, don't miss that opportunity.
Yeah.
Speaking of opportunity, United States men's basketball team. Can't believe we're waiting till the end of this interview to bring them up, but it's kind of become an afterthought now, because it just feels like a given that they're going to win this thing. And we're not talking about the competition. We're talking about Steve Kerr's rotation. Right? We're not talking about how dominant they are. Just how good are they? They got another nice win. We know how close it was against South Sudan in one of their warm-up games, where they go out and they beat them 103-86 today. Just how dominant and how good is this USA men's basketball team, and are you seeing them get better as this tournament goes on?
I mean, I feel like I've seen them get better from those tune-up games, right? Those tune-up games had us all a little bit nervous, kind of like what you had mentioned, but they've played very well, I think, so far out here in Paris. I haven't been able to see a whole lot of them outside of bits of games and highlights. Look, it's funny. I get to my hotel room or something like that. I'm like, oh, USA basketball is playing. Let me flip it on TV, expecting it to be on TV somewhere. But of course, they're following the French table tennis player who's competing, or it's France. They got to follow their guys. So it is what it is. So for the most part, I just get the highlights. The arena they play in is a couple hours away, so it's not that close to get to either. However, from what I've seen, yes, they are. Look, they are what they are. They are a superpower in basketball. That roster is, and it's crazy to think that you go back to the '92 Dream Team. How many NBA players there were outside of the U.S. in that Olympics? I think it was 6. But now there's like 40 or something like that on other rosters. So the competition is good, but the U.S. is still playing at the highest level in the world. And it's just funny, like you were mentioning just a moment ago, how the rotation that Steve Kerr's got, and it's like, I just remember the first game out here, how badly they won, and a guy like Jason Tatum didn't even play in the game, right? And it's like, so. Yeah, this is a fun roster, and I expect them to be in the gold medal match. I think anything less would be a disappointment.
No doubt about that.
Sam Farnsworth, Paris, France. Has the food been any good? Or is it just kind of like, it's Olympic Village food that you're like media? Is there a media green room that is chock full of croissants? I don't know how it works. So look, the media. Ask Alex again. Alex is the veteran, and he'll tell you that not Alex Cabrera. No, right? I know. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I'm an expert in food. I will put my food expertise up against anybody, but Olympics wise, no. He will tell you that this is one of the, and I'm kind of quieting because I'm around some Olympic committee people or whatever they are, the workers here. They're always watching. But he will tell you this is one of the least organized Olympics out here from a media, like where we have to go for our workroom compared to where press conferences are, whatever, even over at the 3x3 arena, like you have to walk a half a mile from where they drop you off right in front of the gate, right by the arena. But you have to walk like a half a mile down the road, around the block, come in through that entrance to check through, and all, it's just a mess. Anyway, to get to your question, what we're saying is that the media food, there's a reason why we've only eaten the media meal once. I'll just say that. Okay. Well, come on, France. That's not good. Do better. But hey, no, I don't know if I blame France for that, because the food at the restaurants we've gone to is great. And the service is quick.
and it's not that expensive, and so I'm pleased with that. But the media meal, they're skimping on us for sure, especially if they, I'm just saying, it's
All right,
it's what it is.
I wrote it down. Worst Olympics ever is what I'm writing down.
That's
Quote
it.
from Sam.
According Sam Farnsworth of KSL-5 in Salt Lake City says worst Olympics ever. Sam, now be honest. The water in the river sign doesn't taste that bad, does it?
Hey, look, I get up early enough every morning to go take my morning swim. I don't have burning skin yet, so when I turned on the TV
later. That'll come when you get home.
When I turned on the TV today after my second nap, I'll tell you what, I saw that the triathlon was going and they were swimming in that river, and all I could think was, ew.
Yeah. Well, I think it's cool that you're putting it in a Brita filter at night just to be right along with those athletes. You're just drinking it right along.
It's not good when you have to eat your water. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, my goodness.
This water is chewy.
It jiggles.
Tastes like chicken.
Yeah, that's not good. Sam, we appreciate you staying up late for us, man, and tons of great work. And
no problem.
It's fun to see you pop up on the feed and to see these athletes. I love that you're able to get with some of these athletes who are having the peak moment of their athletic careers, and you're able to kind of be with them right after they get that medal and right after to get that download. It's been really, really fun to watch, man. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Hey, check out tonight at 10. I've got an interview with with 4 of the members of that bronze medal rugby team, including Spiff Sedgwick. It's good
that's
stuff.
awesome. Can't wait.
Awesome. All right, Sam Farnsworth, everybody. Sam, get some sleep, man. You'll be on the news in like 5 minutes, so we'll get that first nap going.
Go enjoy nap number 1.
There you go. All right, Sam Farnsworth,
yes,
everybody.
Thank you.
There you go. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got tons more to go, and I will say, it would be so freaking cool to go out there. My wife and I considered a couple of years ago, we were like, oh, should we go to Paris? If you're not traveling with the media, with the P card, it's a pricey situation. Not just to travel over there. Not just to travel over there.
A little bit of a tourist trap.
Well, it's like the tickets to the Olympics, to the actual events are,
of course,
really freaking expensive.
Of course.
So, anyway, all right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. I appreciate Sam carving out some time here. We will chat with Mitch Harper, BYU insider, KSLSports.com. BYU fall camp starting up today. Well, it started up yesterday, but today, first media availability, first shots from TV you're going to be able to see tonight. The first cameras on the field, you're going to be able to get those last few minutes of practice. We'll get what Mitch Harper is expecting year 2 of the Big 12 for this BYU team. Stay with us, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
And now it's time to break down the Cougars.
Give me everything you got right now.
This is your Cougars Daily Update with JJ and Alex on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. How about just kind of where we're at in life right now? Football, not around the corner, on top of us. All right, that's where we're at. That's how exciting it is. We, of course, have been bringing you sound from up on the hill as the Utes got underway with their fall camp. And then today is the first media availability for BYU. And Mitch Harper, our BYU insider for KSLSports.com, joins us right now. Mitch, I would assuming you're either in Provo or very close to it, because it's going to get close to that media availability to be able to not just see some of the action on the field for the Cougs, but kick off, I don't know, what feels like your 100th fall camp in a row. How is it, man?
It's good. I just pulled into the parking lot here at the student-athlete building, saw the coaches and players. The gate was just wide open. You could basically just see practice.
Well, walk on in, Mitch. See what happens.
You know what? Just go over there with your
big. On in.
Yeah, get over there with your telescoping lens. I'm sure they'd be real excited about it.
Little GoPro attached to your forehead.
Yeah, just bring my signature binoculars at practice, and just no. I mean, but yeah, the gate's open. They got a new field too. I noticed they installed it back in May. It's now the Zions Bank football practice facility, or fields, here at the student athlete building. But yeah, day 1, year 2 in the Big 12. It's an important season for BYU as they need to find some answers in a hurry here in fall camp.
Obviously, quarterbacks at the top of the list, what we're paying attention to. I'm going to throw you for a curveball here, though. Before we talk about quarterback, what's the non-quarterback storyline that we should actually be more focused on, other than quarterback?
The running back position. I think the running back spot's going to be really interesting. There's been speculation about L.J. Martin and his health status. Is he going to be fully ready to go? He told me a couple weeks ago he'll be ready, but we'll see. Anytime that there's conversation about are you ready or not, typically err on the side of caution. So we'll see on L.J. Martin, but then it puts the spotlight on guys like Hinckley Folau-Ropati and Miles Davis and Pokayawa Honga to be factors at that running back position if Martin misses any sort of time. So that running back position is an area to monitor here in camp because BYU made the decision to not go with a transfer portal running back. So they clearly believe they've got confidence there at that spot. And I will say, Kalani, to his credit, he's had a track record of doing these sort of things that on the surface you think, what's the deal here with the running back? You think back to 2020 when they lost Devontae Henry Cole out of the portal. That's a throwback name. But then they had this quiet confidence of Tyler Algier, and he became an all-timer at BYU. So there's a little bit of track record there, and we'll see if that sort of thing emerges with that running back unit here in fall camp.
Mitch, as you kind of get ready to cover this, this fall camp, and as BYU fires up, it's I don't know. We do this every year and fans will certainly get to the point where it's like it's black and white. Either it's like, oh, they're doomed, or it's oh no, they're going to be well improved. Like, what's a reality for fans to kind of understand about where this team is at, or is it just there really is a massive question mark and you won't really know until there is a starting quarterback in place?
Yeah, I'd still think that until they get clarity on the quarterback position, there's a lot of mystery to this team. But I do believe they have, personnel-wise and with the retention that they've built up with this roster, I think they're good enough to say they're not going to be blown out at any game. I think BYU is going to be better equipped to be competitive every single week. And, having a lot of your tough, at least perceived toughest opponents at home, that should put you in a position to get to the postseason. I think BYU, they're, players 23 to 85 on the scholarship count. I think it's as good as I've seen. But I think it's the top 22 is where I have real questions about BYU, compared to, say, 15 years ago. I think it's taken a little bit of a step back on that front. That's where you got to really start to establish the stars. And I don't think BYU has any stars right now. You got to have those guys, though, to succeed in the Big 12 conference because I don't know who's the bona fide all Big 12 guy outside of maybe Batty and maybe Jacob Robinson. And outside of that, I think you need more answers, particularly on the offensive side. So, BYU, I do believe, though, they are a team that's, better positioned now than to avoid those 37-7, 44-11 beatdowns that they suffered a year ago.
And we've broke down the quarterback room and who's involved ad nauseum all offseason. I'm curious, though, what do you think the time frame is going to be? How important would it be for BYU to establish who that starter is earlier in camp, or do you believe they're really going to wait until the final hour when they take snaps against Southern Illinois, or even keep it open beyond that?
I believe this could be, a game week type battle. I think it benefits BYU to name it early, and I think it benefits the fan base to kind of say that's their guy and they're going to rally around him. But I feel like this is the type of battle where it's just you want to see every single snap, every data point that you can analyze if you're Aaron Roderick and Kalani Sitake to make sure this is right because this decision could define jobs. And you've got to get this right. And, look, I think Kalani's made it clear coming out of Big 12 Media Day that they are comfortable with all four guys if they need to throw them in because these quarterbacks have all started FBS games. But ideally, you'd like to get off on a right foot and have that QB1 be the clear-cut guy. And you're not second-guessing yourself and thinking, well, if you would have started that guy to begin the season, your year would have been a lot different because the margins are thin for BYU. And you can't afford to lose a game or two with the wrong personnel and just assume you're going to make up for it with a new face at quarterback. So it's the chase to get to that 6 wins, and so every snap matters.
Mitch, what's Ben Bywater's status? That's like a name that it gets thrown out there, and I think normally when we feel like things are going in a really, really good direction when it comes to somebody's health, that we would have been, pumping up one of the better linebackers in that system in the last few years. What's his status? And I'm asking because I think that the feeling is that he's not there yet, or what are we looking at with Ben Bywater?
It's a big question, Mark. And I got to say, when I talked to Kalani at Big 12 Media Days about Ben and the commentary that Kalani gave me, it just didn't paint a positive outlook on Bywater. That, he noted that it's a devastating injury and time will tell. I mean, those are the type of terms that, track record has said when Kalani says that, you might need to explore other options potentially. And I thought it was an underrated addition in the offseason after spring ball when they did get Che Bryant-Strother, the younger brother to former BYU Hooper Elijah Bryant from UCLA. They brought him in, and he's going to compete at inside linebacker. You've got Harrison Taggart. He goes into his second year, former Corner Canyon High standout. I think he's built to have a really big year this season. I mentioned Che Bryant-Strother. You got Cialia Serra, too, who should be good to go here for fall camp. But Bywater's, status, based on, Kalani's commentary at Big 12 Media Day and him not participating in spring, it's a big question coming into day one here at fall camp. And, I think it's one of those deals where what you've got in Ben Bywater. He's a productive guy, but ideally you'd like to see a few snaps in this practice because still he's only had 4 games in Jay Hill's defense. He didn't have much time last year in spring in year one, so there hasn't been many snaps in operating in Jay Hill's scheme as you would think for Ben Bywater. So it'd be nice to have him in fall camp, but those shoulder injuries are really tough, and so as Kalani said, time will tell.
The pass rush has to be better. There's no doubt about that. We've been talking about that a lot as well. As you go into camp, we know who Tyler Batty is, but who's the player or players that they really need to have step up in order for that pass rush to dominate this year?
Zay Banya, second-year transfer from Boise State, he's got to take a big step forward. I thought last year, like pretty much the entire defense and the defensive line at large, kind of underwhelming, and there wasn't as much impact as you expected from him at that OE spot, the outside edge. He's got to take a big step forward, and if not, you got options like Logan Latui coming into his third year in the program, a former Weber State transfer. He once started, a couple games 2 years ago. Last year dealt primarily with injury, so you didn't see him really at all. He's going to be a factor at the 2 deep. Then you've got Sonny Tuwala, JUCO transfer. And, I think the interior of the defensive line should be pretty good with some pass rushing ability from the interior with John Nilsson and David Latu, Blake Mengelson, John Taumoipeu from Snow College, and then Luke Tuomalatai from Long Beach College. So BYU's got better options, but they got to really round out the depth. And that's going to be an area that I'm kind of keeping tabs on in fall camp, is that you feel like you kind of know the starting 3 or 4, whatever they throw out, but they need to kind of round out that depth and kind of get a clear picture of who the key guys are. Sione Buha feels pretty comfortable about 3 or 4 of those guys coming out of spring. They need to build up the numbers there at that D tackle spot. What's
a name of somebody, and we're going to do this over the next few weeks, so just keep getting used to this question. What's somebody who you would anticipate that the average fan wouldn't necessarily know right now, that you're going to hear their name a lot more in the next few weeks, and because they're one of those people that the coaches right out of the gates are really excited about? Who's that person going into camp that we don't necessarily have a lot of tape on as a BYU Cougar?
Logan Latui's one that I mentioned, the DN from Weber State. Mm-hmm. He's definitely one to monitor. I'd also say true freshman safety Tommy Parasis comes in from Basha High School in Arizona. Parasis was one of the standouts in spring ball to the point where I thought he was a starter coming out of spring. I was really impressed with him. He's an impact guy. BYU's got veterans, Micah Harper and Talon Alfrey, returning. But I think ideally you want Micah Harper to anchor that Eddie Heckard nickel role that he handled last season, and Heckard was brilliant for BYU. Harper seems to be the best fit for that spot. And then you have Al Free and maybe Tommy Parasis. You've got options at safety, but I really like Parasis. And I think he's got a little bit of an upper hand on Faletau Satawala simply because, he had spring ball, and he took a lot of first-team reps, and that was noteworthy. So I think he's a name to definitely monitor. I mentioned him earlier, Pokaiawa Honga at running back. I really liked him coming out of spring ball. Versatile athlete, good pass catcher out of the backfield. Kalani has thrived with running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think there could be a role for him depending on how this running back unit shakes out. And I think, kind of a deep cut. I'm really curious to see where he emerges on the cornerback battle is Maury Bamba. I think if you want to take a dart and throw it at the board and say who could be, a high upside NFL guy one day, to me it's him. Because he's a 6'3", long arms, kind of a freak athlete at the cornerback position, track and field background, only his fourth year of football. And, he started games last year, struggled, and mightily at times. But I think there's this feeling that they want him, the staff, want him to emerge and contend for that first-team role alongside Jacob Robinson. He's going to battle Mark Collins from Weber State, but he's someone I think I'm very curious to see, and he could be a sleeper. I've been high on him for quite some time because he's just got all the raw measurements to be an elite cornerback, but it's now you got to do it on the field, and this will be an opportunity for him and a window to really kind of put his name into the conversation and be someone that could be generating some buzz heading into the season.
Mitch Harper, BYU Insider, KSLSports.com. You can, of course, get all of the breakdowns as soon as they happen post-practice. The very first availability today for the media down in Provo. Mitch is, of course, going to be there, and we're going to get all those updates from him and Matt Baiamonte and everybody else from the KSL crew who's going to be down grabbing sound. And we're anticipating a highly publicized camp, and not the least of which is going to be that quarterback battle. Mitch, don't play banged up down there, man. You gotta stay healthy, too. We need you.
If it's the day one, it's going to be a busy year. This is the best time of the year. Looking forward to it. It's the grind starts now. I can't wait.
There you go. Mitch Harper, everybody. We'll take a break here. We'll come back. Mitch will keep us updated. By the way, if you want to get updated.
I had a question about the punter, but I'll save it for another time.
I can't tell if you're lying or not. Sorry. I had a long snapper question I wanted to get to.
Fans do care about it. It's important.
Well, because Ryan Rico's not there.
Yeah, that's a big question mark going into fall camp.
All right. We'll
get to it later.
We'll have a few days for that. Hey, Jeremy, just text Mitch, see what his thoughts are on the punter.
Tell him to share it on social.
Give me the full breakdown.
Live
do
photos,
one of those,
right?
yeah. Do one of those camera right in front of your faces updates. By the way, for people who are wondering,
do an Instabook Live.
Instabook Live. The look at the punters are coming out there and they're like, hey, there's not just a quarterback battle down here at BYU. This is us punters fighting it out too.
Got 3 Australians on campus.
Better watch out.
Ready to go.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more around the corner right here. It's a Wednesday edition of the program. But when we come back, it is a Win Ticket Wednesday, and we've got some tickets for you to win. So stay tuned for that chance to win those Australian Pink Floyd tickets coming up right around the corner. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Sports Zone.
Utes, Cougars, Aggies. We're doing all of it, man. Exciting stuff. Speaking of Aggies, and a guy who this week has gotten a lot of publicity, of course, because of the signed letter that he and 110 other athletes at Utah State, current and former, signed to kind of get some clarity from the athletic department as to the firings of their athletic director, or the deputy athletic director, Jerry Bovee, Amy Crosby, also in the athletic department. And they were like, hey, we just want some answers here. Ike Larson named to the Bronco Nagurski Trophy Watch list. Best defender in all of FBS. You've got 3 names from the local schools. And Ike Larson, JJ, might have the best shot to maybe be that guy who could do it in terms of talent and guys who have
the ability to be able to put himself in a spot to win an award like that, it'd be a really, really tall ask, but he's as talented as anybody. Tyler Batty and Junior Tafuna are the two others here in the state that are on that Bronco Nagurski list.
Yeah, you've got to be unbelievably good, and you also need team success. So we'll see how that all plays out. From a talent standpoint, Ike Larson's one of the best playmakers in the country at the safety position. There's a proven track record, and you add in his ability to make disruptive plays on special teams, blocking kicks, etc. One of the best playmakers that I've seen on the defensive side of the ball and in special teams in the country. He's going to have a great year. We don't cheer or pull for any of these teams, but Utah State having a winning season and bouncing back from all this stuff that they've had to go through would be an incredible story. Tyler Batty, let's see if he can go out with a bang. I mean, that pass rush has to be better, and if they're able to find that, he could be an all-conference defender. There's no doubt about it. He's preseason all-conference.
He's got an NFL body, too. And
yeah.
And so that's the kind of thing where, like, scouts are like, hey, man, we're kind of waiting for you to turn that corner because we're ready to tell our guys.
We like what we see.
Right.
We want to see better tape, and I think that he has an opportunity to do that. Junior Tafuna, if the Utes reach the goals that everyone thinks they're going to reach, could have the best odds of these three to actually be a semifinalist or a finalist.
I mean, what's interesting about all that is that you have a guy like Tyler Batty. Junior Tafuna is set up. He's on a team that is likely to be on a winner. Obviously, like this is a team that could win a lot of games. That doesn't hurt.
No.
I mean, Connor Pay, when we talked to him at Big 12 Media Days, he said kind of something similar. It was like, I couldn't go to the NFL because I didn't like where my stock was at. Oh. It's like I didn't like where my stock was at, and I didn't feel like, I mean, you got to be on a team that wins, man. And he even brought up Kingsley falling to the second round because he was on a team that wasn't winning.
We all had that Kingsley's first-round talent.
We had that same conversation yesterday.
The Chiefs got first-round talent in the late second round, and he's proving it right now. He's going to start. He's probably going to start for the defending Super Bowl champions. So, yeah, you win and you have success as a team. It's going to make you look better. And if you're dominating as a group, individuals are going to benefit from that. And so there's a lot of incentive for these players to not only perform well as individuals, but if their team wins, they will benefit in a big way. And awards season is where a lot of that benefit comes.
Looking forward to it. I mean, really, if you've got guys you can hang your hat on, if you're Utah State, Ike Larson is that guy. You hope that you don't have more attrition. You don't have people falling off and trying to hit the transfer portal, late in this process, of course. But the turmoil up at Utah State is a hard thing to try to overcome. But if somebody could do it, Ike Larson's already going to be. Ike Larson's NFL talent. He's going to have that ability to be able to get himself to that next level. You got to win. You got to win to be able to get those national awards. And if they, do the national awards matter that much? I don't think Junior Tafuna's going, hey, did you see I was on the Bronco Nagurski watch list?
Yeah. I don't think it's in his Twitter profile, if you know what I mean.
All these guys. This is the year of
I don't think he's posting that on the gram.
You've got 17 guys locally who are on the checks the list, the preseason list, the preseason watch list for some of these major awards are hilarious sometimes. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back.
You know what's coming. Your daily deep dive into everything Utah Jazz. It's time. All season long and even in the off season. It's Jazz Daily with JJ and Alex on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it! Basketball, gimme the ball because
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the program. BYU Fall Camp. Media availability is going to be about at the end of this hour. Don't know if we'll be able to grab somebody just based off of the timing, but we're sure as heck going to try. Cougs are going to keep us up to date on whether or not they can grab us somebody
on their way off the practice field in the next 45 minutes or so. All right. So interesting thing, if you go to KSLSports.com, Ben Anderson does a phenomenal job writing this thing up and being able to kind of answer questions in the offseason here. I actually had, I don't know how long you have to keep wondering whether or not, this team is going to jump in on the trade deadline stuff or make a trade before the end of the season. I mean, the end of or before the season rather. And I don't know, the ongoing rumors are out there, but obviously we talked about Keontae George going to Finland, how big of a deal that is. But there is a question mark, and the question was asked of Ben Anderson in their weekly mailbag for their Jazz Notes podcast. It was asked about, but does keeping Lauri Markkanen actually make it more difficult to get Cooper Flagg, who would obviously be kind of winning the actual, lottery, and winning, this player who is supposed to be generational, obviously, is a huge deal. So, I don't know. I don't think that's the case, right? Because now we've talked this through. The Jazz aren't going to be very good, even with Lauri Markkanen this year. And in a year like this, if you finish fourth worst in the league or second worst in the league, the numbers don't really bear out that it's worth, rolling the dice on something like that.
Who won the lottery this year?
Los Atlanta Hawks, right? Wasn't it Atlanta?
What were their odds?
I think they were supposed to be 8th or 9th.
Not even that.
Or
worse.
10th or 12th?
They finished 10th in the East.
Oh, wow. They had a 3% chance.
They won the lottery.
Yeah.
So this idea that you have to have the worst record and you have to tank that bad.
Well, one of the worst teams in the history of the NBA, the Detroit Pistons.
What, 28-game losing streak?
Right, and they ended up picking
drop
5th.
In the lottery. They go 5th.
Yeah.
In not a great draft. So, and another thing to keep in mind is while Cooper Flagg's a great talent, how many of the number one overall picks since the lottery started in 1985 won an NBA title in their original run with that team?
Oh. I'm trying to think who that would even guys bail out.
It's going to take you a minute,
yeah.
And you're going to have to do the research because it's not many. It's not many. Kyrie Irving with the Cavaliers.
And you
LeBron
don't think to
doesn't
yourself,
count because LeBron didn't win.
He came back.
In his first stint, he was a free agent acquisition, which is strange to say. So I don't know if I count that one. And the other two are Tim Duncan and David Robinson.
Okay, see
with
now
the San Antonio Spurs.
Those are at least guys that you were like, that's homegrown. The Kyrie Irving thing, you don't think to yourself, because Kyrie Irving, Tim Duncan and David Robinson were huge parts of winning that title. Kyrie Irving was the clearly not the number one guy there in Cleveland when they won that title. And so you don't look at that and go, boy, Kyrie Irving, homegrown, drafted by the Cavaliers, and man, he carried him to that victory. It was like, yeah, it was LeBron. It was LeBron's team. And you don't look at Kyrie
made a clutch shot in the most important moment in that game. We'll always remember the block, but who made the big shot in Game 7? It was Kyrie. So give him credit. But you get my point here is getting the number one overall pick isn't the automatic elixir to winning a championship. You need to have lottery success over a period of years. Look at the current champion, the Boston Celtics. Okay, so that's lottery success and draft success and personnel moves made over a period of time to help you build a championship. It's a combination of a lot of different things. The draft is a very important thing for the Utah Jazz, and this upcoming draft, the Cooper Flagg draft, is important. And don't get me wrong, it would be absolutely incredible for the Jazz to be in a position to get the number one overall pick next year and get Cooper Flagg, and they're going to be in the mix. But the idea that if you don't trade Lauri Markkanen, you're going to be too good to not do that, I just blew that out of the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not guaranteed anything. You got to play the odds like everybody else. Do you want to increase your chances? Sure, go ahead. Be bottom 4. I don't know. You don't have to be the worst team in the league. But here's the truth, is the West is so good that even with Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton in the rotation with a bunch of rookies, the Jazz are going to stink.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to be entertaining. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to still be proud to cheer for this team. just when you're playing that many rookies and second-year players, you're trying to compete with other teams that they're playing half their players are in the 30s in their rotation.
So one of the things that happened in the last couple of days is they post the offseason, with the offseason, offseason moves aren't totally done yet. Obviously, you could still have a couple things happen and move. But I was looking yesterday at this, and the NBA scouts, front office people, all anonymously polled about who had the best offseason and so far and who's had the worst offseason. And I guess it's okay that the Jazz aren't anywhere mentioned in any of those lists. Is that just because it's Utah and people won't think about them first? Because you really like to give more kudos than you need to those teams in the Eastern Conference, like your New Yorks and your Philadelphia, who, by the way, who had the best NBA offseason. 8 votes in this anonymous poll were for the Philadelphia 76ers. Second were the New York Knicks, then the Oklahoma City Thunder, then the Boston Celtics, which, by the way, if you were going to handicap odds, those are all the teams that I think we're looking at and going, all right. From the East, the 76ers at least put themselves in that conversation with the Knicks and the Celtics, right?
They did.
But the Celtics had a pretty darn good offseason because of extending big names that are already on their roster and keeping that core together. But then you have teams who had awful offseasons, according to this. The Nuggets got the most votes of the worst offseason. You can't keep a window open very long if you don't have good off seasons to kind of stretch that thing out. The Bulls, the Clippers, the Lakers, of course, the Knicks get votes in both categories because that's the type of team that they are.
Yeah.
But Utah's not mentioned in any of these. So no executives are like throwing kudos at Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck yet because nothing's happened.
What are you throwing it to, right? What would you be throwing it to?
They
had a nice draft? Question mark? We don't know yet. I mean,
Who knows?
You hope. I mean, there's a lot of good signs from those guys, and I think I saw another list of draft steals, and Kyle Filipowski was getting some attention on that, so that's good news. The Jazz are in that situation where they had a very quiet offseason. A lot of the news and the buzz around the Jazz was manufactured by other teams, right? This whole Warriors thing was manufactured by the Warriors,
yeah.
Not the Jazz. The Jazz aren't shopping Lauri Markkanen. The Warriors are trying to pry him loose. The Warriors are trying to make a deal for him. I think the Spurs probably made a run at Lauri Markkanen before they settled on the guys that they added to their team. And you look at even the Sacramento Kings were rumored, but they end up getting DeRozan. So, yeah, it's been a quiet offseason for the Jazz, and I think that's by design. I think they want to use this cap space to extend Lauri Markkanen and make sure that he's locked up for the future. They've got a lot of these young guys on their roster now that they like a lot. One or two of them they think are going to hit, and then you've got the next 2 drafts are going to be huge. And the Jazz will play a role in both of those drafts, probably pretty high in it, obviously. So the Jazz have a lot of things that they're working on, but it's all about the future. It's not about winning this year. That's just the reality of it. If they were all in on winning this year, they probably would have tried to be on the Paul George sweepstakes. We got to add a veteran to, they'd be trying to do the same sell that the Sixers were selling on their fans, is that we're all in on winning. We're going to go sign 34-year-old Paul George to a max 4-year contract, which is going to be a massive mistake in 4 years. Just the truth.
Is KCP, that move of him going to Orlando from Denver, was that the move that just basically went, okay, the Nuggets probably have taken themselves down a notch in that Western Conference race?
What did we learn from the playoffs this year? How important is depth?
That 4th and 5th guy on your roster is huge.
And the Nuggets, while they have they could argue have one of the best starting lineups in the NBA, the Celtics are obviously number 1. But in the West, I think that you do look at the Nuggets. Maybe the Timberwolves number 2 is having the best starting 5. I think the Thunder have great depth, which is why they finished number 1 last year. Young depth, really, really exciting young depth. But as far as starting lineups go, the Nuggets have a great one. But then you look beyond number 4, right? You get past Michael Porter Jr. and name someone besides Brown that you think is a good player, and you're not going to have much luck. So you need depth to win in the playoffs. It was proven this year. Depth is the new thing in the NBA right now because there's a lot of it. There's a lot of good players in the league. And the Nuggets window might be closing because they don't have the depth that they need. And that's what happens. You get good, you draft really well, You got to pay those players eventually. You make some deals like they did for Aaron Gordon, and all of a sudden you don't have any roster flexibility or you don't have any cap flexibility. You have no way to improve your roster, and you're priced out. All of a sudden you don't have depth. Look at the Suns. The Suns have, based on paper, you're not going to find a better big three, right?
Well,
maybe the Celtics have a better big three, but what did they not have? What did the Suns not have? Depth. And they were a first-round exit because they faced a team that had a lot more.
Yeah. Well, I would assume that there are teams that are in the very middle right now, and they're content to be exactly where they were at the end of the season. Like the Jazz are kind of right there. The reality is that if you're talking about developing guys, who are the people you want to develop most on this Utah Jazz roster? Who is it that you want to see the biggest jump from next year? I doubt that it's Lauri Markkanen because you know what he can do, and is it getting Walker Kessler back to that form that he had kind of year one? Is it developing Keontae George into a day-to-day, like an actual like everyday pro? Either handling the ball or whatever, or is it those 3 rookies from this class and the 3 rookies from the last draft class and making sure they're all together? Who's the one person you would put a big priority on? Obviously, all of them have to get developed, but what's the one guy you want to see the biggest jump from next year?
Taylor Hendricks. You picked him ahead of Keontae George. You picked him 9th in the draft. You believed in his upside. We need to see the upside. It's year 2. You had Summer League. It was mixed results. You want to see Taylor Hendricks show that he was worth that number 9 pick. And then if he doesn't, then you need to move off of him. Because this Jazz team can be that way. They can move off some of these young players and use them in trades and different things. They did it with Ochai Agbaji already.
Yeah.
They already moved him. We thought Ochai Agbaji was part of the future. They made a decision that, well, he's not progressing the way we think. We don't think he's a rotational guy in this league or whatever their thought process was there, and they made a decision to move him at a trade deadline for a pick. That wasn't like a deal where they had to throw him into a deal to get a better player. That was, we don't think this is a part of our future. We want to get another shot at a first-round pick, which turned out to be the right move.
Right.
But they move Ochai Agbaji and Kelly Olynyk for money. They made a statement there that we decided to move on from Agbaji. Do they have to do the same thing with Hendricks if he does not have or show a lot of improvement in his sophomore NBA season? And maybe the same could be said for Bryce Sensabaugh. But that's the one guy, when you ask me that question, I think we already know who Keontae George is. I think we've seen enough from Keontae to know that he's an NBA guy. He could score 30 points in an NBA game. I mean, he's proven a lot already. We haven't seen enough from Taylor Hendricks. He hasn't proven enough for us to be sold that he's a part of this future.
Besides Lauri, obviously, because he's been one, is there somebody else on this roster that is an NBA All-Star in the future?
I can't say that with definitivity.
That's tough, right?
No, which is why we're talking about how keeping Lauri Markkanen.
How to get Cooper flag.
I mean, so Colin Sexton has those flashes, but no.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that I think Locke at some point came on and told us if there's somebody that has all-star potential like written all over him, but it's going to be a long time. It was Cody Williams, right? Who came out of that? Who came out of this year's
and
draft.
Maybe that's the answer to your question. But how do we know that now?
Yeah. And that's a 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road question, right? But that's also you don't draft guys and then go, yeah, I don't see them being really good enough to be an all-star level player. It's like, man, when you have 6 first-round draft picks in the last 2 seasons and everyone's looking around at each other going, so how long do you give the Lauri, or how long do you give the Walker Kessler? Like, what happens this year with Walker Kessler? Last year was such a weird retrograde for him that that you think to yourself, okay, well, what happened here? I know there were some injury questions there, but it was definitely year 2 was a weird spot for Walker. And Jazz fans are like, I thought we were supposed to be signing up I thought my kid's supposed to get a jersey, of this guy, and we were supposed to go forward with him being your new Rudy Gobert.
You comfortable giving Walker Kessler a big money extension right now?
No. It's easy to do right now that that second deal because it's relatively cheap, right? I mean, compared to especially when you're not playing great.
When you understand where the NBA is going and the contract they just signed with media rights, you understand that these numbers are crazy, but it would be a reasonable number.
Right, it would be. I mean, and the reality is they'll extend him because you can extend somebody in that second contract for. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think they will. I think
they're not in a position where I think they feel the pressure to do that.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be pressure as much as it would just be being able to get him kind of cheap.
They were taking calls on him. The Knicks were trying to pry him loose.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the Jazz are in a position where they have the freedom to make some tough decisions. You know, this is not one of those deals where remember the Rudy Gobert contract thing? It's like you knew they were going to give him the $200 million extension. Did you think that it was going to end well? No, because you're giving him. You're paying a center that doesn't score 20 points a game. You're going to give him that kind of money. So eventually what happened? They end up trading him because you take up that big of a salary slot and that much cap space. Your ability to improve the team in other areas is diminished. Yes, you have one of the most elite rim protectors in the world, but you don't have the point production you need or the bench you need. And one of the problems the Jazz had with that lineup was they had all their money in Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. How do you improve?
Let me, can I read off this insane? So the Kings have, this was as of, I think, this morning early. This was a rumor that was thrown out there through the Sacramento Kings Sports Illustrated site. You ready for this? So still being linked, Markkanen still being linked to the Warriors, now the Kings being a part of a 3-team trade. Now, again, you got to get real creative if you're going to try to move a guy like him, and then and when you don't really feel like you have the assets, you got to start getting other teams involved. And okay, here's what the mock draft or what the mock trade would look like. The Sacramento Kings would receive Jonathan Kuminga. The Warriors would receive Lauri Markkanen. Okay, here's who the Jazz receive from this: Moses Moody, Kevon Looney, Guy Santos, Kevin Hoyter, Colby Jones, a 2025 first-round pick from the Warriors, a 2026 second-round pick from the Warriors, a 2027 first-round pick swap with the Warriors, a 2028 first-round pick swap with Sacramento.
That's a horrible trade.
Terrible.
Because
none
Warriors
of those guys, you want zero of these guys who we just named.
Right.
Zero of these cats.
They don't help you long-term.
It's 3 first-round draft picks and a garbage second-round pick.
Why do the Kings get Kuminga?
That's what I'm saying.
That doesn't make any sense.
Because it's the Kings.
That's the one player you would actually make you pause if you're the Jazz. Okay, if we can get Kuminga in a deal, well, that's where you start, right?
And then 3 first-rounders.
But the 2025 first-round pick, if the Warriors get Lauri,
it's going to be the 31st.
Playoffs.
It's going to be the 31st pick.
So I mean, that doesn't help you with the Cooper
pick.
Flag sweepstakes.
Yeah.
Come on, like that kind of garbage. Like that's some Warrior blogger nerd.
No. It's a Kings
blogger nerd coming up with some kind of dumb trade scenario to get some clicks.
To get Jonathan Kuminga to add
that makes no sense.
Look, here's the thing. They're a player or two away now from being kind of interesting.
Everybody is. Everyone's playing the same dang game. And the Jazz have that guy that everybody would love to add that everyone thinks is available. The Warriors found out he's not at the price that they're willing to pay.
Right. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll come back. We've got more to go. Is Below Deck still on TV?
Of course it is.
That was a trick.
We've all heard of that show.
See, that was a trick question. I actually don't know the answer, but Jeremy knew the answer immediately.
Too quickly?
You failed the test today.
Hey, it's an interesting show sometimes.
Okay. It's an interesting show. You pervert. Isn't it just one of those it's live it's reality Love Boat, isn't it?
No.
Okay, it's on a boat and it's about reality love stories.
Basically, rich people. I'll tell you the example because I know you want to hear it.
Okay.
People just charter the boats.
Okay.
And it's rich people on there that you follow the crew.
And the crew is like trying to hook up, right?
It may or may not happen.
Okay. Hey, listen, don't put this on me. Peacock is the one trying to tell me to watch it.
Don't look at me. I work at KSL. I don't work for NBC.
They're all, hey, while we've got you watching the Olympics, have you heard of Below Deck season number 9?
Outside of primetime NBC programming, we have nothing to do with Peacock. Don't blame me.
You're a subscription holder. Stop it.
Now you know why NBC and other networks are paying billions for sports rights, because
they're like, please,
they don't have anything else to get you to watch their networks.
We got the Olympics. We got a couple Chiefs postseason games, and then Below Deck?
Question mark?
What do you got?
Yeah, Top Chef. That's actually good.
Okay, Top Chef. All right.
They got the new Kung Fu Panda movie.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. Give that a shot.
I just saw something.
Kung Fu Panda 4?
Oh, boy. Don't know.
We don't have enough Kung Fu Pandas.
No, I know, but I'll tell you what. I just saw
Jack Black's laughing all the way to the bank.
I'll tell you something that I didn't know was happening was Moana 2. They just showed an advertisement for that.
Pixar's great. They've made some classics, but, man, they struggle to come up with original ideas. They really, really go all in on the sequels.
Oh, yeah.
We all remember Cars 3. That was great.
Well, Cars 3 also, Cars were good. What else do we have? Trains? No. Anybody else? What about planes? Give that man a raise. Who are we going to get to voice it? Dane Cook. Who? Exactly. It'll be a hit.
He's hilarious. He writes his own jokes.
Dane Cook.
Or not.
You know what's really sad is his brother stole all of his money. That's a real
Well,
thing.
he stole all of his jokes, so it's only fair.
How dare you. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll have this. We'll break down some if the Olympics aren't on, we'll at least have some below deck stuff to talk about. So stay with us. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome on back. JJ and Alex in the 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Guess what, JJ? It's that time of the day for us to jam on some NFL stuff. This is where I feel good. You know, when I'm asking Sam questions about, Olympic stuff, and I literally am asking questions just to understand what's going on, there's, part of me, and when we start talking, fall camp with Mitch Harper about BYU football, then I start being okay, so I'm more in my comfort zone here. We start talking about Utah football, and it's okay, this I feel okay about. When we start getting into some Olympic stuff, and I'm I don't know what's going on. Jimmer Fredette goes out injured today, and they lose to Poland, and then I'm is that a thing? Is Poland any good? We just have to literally ask questions. And so the NFL, it's like a warm blanket, JJ.
The only thing that Poland should be better than us in is sausage.
Sausage.
And sauerkraut.
Dude, this time of the day, it's a hungry situation. Costco got rid of that Polish dog, by the way. They lost all my business. I went full blacklist on Costco when they got rid of the Polish dog.
It's a little extreme because the hot dog they offer still is pretty darn high end.
But it is not.
And it's you're peppery. Not gonna, how do you beat that value? There's not a better food value.
You know who tries really hard though? Sam's Club. They're all. Oh, what is it? $1.50. We'll do ours for $1.28. And you get a hot dog, you get a drink. I'll hug you too. I'll give you a kiss. Just to save that money.
Seems a little extreme.
Oh yeah. Well, they want to get
awkward.
They want to get you in there.
Are they really doing that?
Oh, you don't get that at your local Sam's? About Sam's Club? You got breaking news about
breaking
Sam's?
news, man.
Oh, hit the breaking news
sounder
then.
This is not fake, whatever breaking news.
Okay, what do we have here? Jeremy giving us some breaking news. Is this in the NFL world or something else?
BYU fall camp.
Uh-oh.
Mitch Harper.
What do we have?
Ben Bywater will not be playing this season.
Wow. That's where
It's
they
not,
got to.
whoa. It's not that he's not playing this season. He's medically retiring.
Oh, even that more so. Okay.
He has nerve damage in his shoulder, according to reports.
That is freaking terrible. All right, so that just came out of practice, and that they've probably been sitting on that for a minute, right? And saying, hey, when we get camp going.
So he is medically retiring from football. That is a massive blow to the BYU football program.
That's terrible for a kid, too, who's on a trajectory to be an NFL guy.
That's both a leader and a star.
That's a triple-digit tackles on your defense kind of a guy, too, on top of the fact that he's an awesome teammate. Ben Bywater out not just this season, but he's medically retiring from football. This is post-practice today when they were asked about Ben Bywater. We asked Mitch that very question not even an hour ago, JJ, about Ben Bywater because there just haven't been very many pieces of information out there. We knew he was kind of banged up a little bit. We didn't know what that exactly meant. Here's what it sounded like when they asked about Ben Bywater today at BYU's fall camp.
Well, what's the update? What's your status?
Status is not good. It's obviously I'm in street clothes right now. Wish I was out there with those guys, but had some tough conversations the other day where my shoulders, I'm not cleared to go, not medically cleared to go, and I won't be medically cleared to go. So looks like my days of playing BYU football are behind me.
Not just BYU football, but that's the end of the career there. For a kid who came in when somebody else got injured and made quite a decent playing career out of that. You hate it for these kids. JJ, you get injuries during camp that are devastating. This one really stinks too. It kind of makes sense though when you start to hear about how much these coaches were talking about this linebacking core. It was always without Ben Bywater. It was the guys that are coming in to be, the Harrison Taggarts of the world that were going to come in and change some things. And, the other thing is, too, this is a complicated defense. From all that we know, this scheme is one that Kalani's very familiar with. Jay Hill obviously runs the same one. And it's something that they were like, look, this is not an easy defense to get down. And he's one of those guys that you looked at and were like, okay, you rely on a guy like Ben Bywater and his smarts to be able to kind of be plugged into that system and make it work. So Ben Bywater out from BYU football and medically retired from the game. You never like to see that for these kids.
No, and Ben was a good one. And
awesome interview. All that. Awesome family. Yeah.
Look, and this is not about BYU, Utah, whatever the name they're wearing. This is about a young man whose football career is over. Mm-hmm. So you're gutted for him. And it's just, you just hate to hear that news. You want to see him compete and go out on their terms, but that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Now you're left, from a football standpoint, how do they fill that gap? You know Ben Bywater's not going to play. He's done at BYU, so next man up mentality, and that's exact. And Ben gets it, and Ben understands it. That's the thing that they're talking about right now. It's next man up. Who's the next man up? Who fills the gap?
Yeah, it's tough because there were so many depth charts that had, guys. Jack Kelly obviously was a name that was thrown in there. Siale Acera is a guy who, we kind of got to know a little bit last year. Ace Kafusi. Isaiah Glasker is a name that yes. keeps coming up, right? But Harrison Taggart is going to be that. He's going to be that Mike backer that's going to have to take over now,
and,
right?
Mitch mentioned Bryant Strother.
Oh, that's right.
Transfer that came in from UCLA. Yep. So there's some guys in the room that'll have to pick it up, but if I put Ben Bywater's name in that group, he's number one. He's the best player, and he's not playing for you anymore, and that is just a major bummer for BYU and for Ben.
Next man up. That's the part of the thing too where you go. The good news about camp is you tend to get names that you didn't know very well, who the coaches are like, we really like that cat, like Bryant Strother, who you were talking about that who's coming out of UCLA. Are they in Los Angeles? UCLA?
I just saw a T-shirt today that says that they are in LA.
We are in LA.
Yes.
I wish they had a sense of humor about it. I thought it was good. But yeah. Bummer.
Hate that because you want to get the best football possible, and if there's going to be this defense does not need to get. I would assume these players have known for a couple weeks maybe, or that it could be a possibility. They probably got as close to camp as they could to finally make that decision, and it's official. Ben Bywater not going to be playing football any longer, not just for BYU, but for anybody else. So there you go. All right, NFL Roundup. Back to the NFL. This is something that I was like, what are we doing? Why haven't we seen this before? The NFL testing out a bit of technology that will track the line to gain situation a little bit better. It seems like a no-brainer. Just like robo-umpires, if we can get that down. Look, you and I have been watching a lot of Olympics over the last few days. It's on nonstop in our studio, and I love all of it. But you know what they do at the Olympics? They embrace technology. Tennis is one of those sports where they're like, is that in or out? Now, you have the interesting thing, too. You're at Roland Garros, and so they go, you when a ball hits the clay, they're like, it's right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But those systems that track the ball, volleyball, tennis, they have these VAR systems that aren't even like, it's not a challenge or anything. It's just full on like, showed up on the screen, boom, it was out. You know what I mean? This is the NFL. This is the... we were talking about this before the show. They're going to test out this Hawkeye tracking system for the line to gain, for first downs, for really, if you're talking about, it should be used for any of the, the ball placement, any of that stuff, okay? If the technology is any good, you have to use it. I was wondering if we just don't, if we like to, as people who watch the game, we like to go, he didn't make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we can sacrifice the referee with glasses on using his credit card to determine if it's a first down.
How many times have we seen the chain get stretched out and then you're like,
what are we doing?
This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Use technology that currently exists. You're seeing it. You're absolutely right. You're seeing it in the Olympics. We saw at the end of the USA women's volleyball match today. They had to go to the video to confirm that the point counted, and the evidence was right there. They got it right. They got it done within 15, 20 seconds of the challenge, and you move on with your life.
That's it. Yeah. They did the same thing with today when the mixed doubles or the doubles, the men's doubles.
Yeah.
Alcaraz and Nadal ended up losing at the very end on a line challenge. So.
Why are we not using it in the NFL? That is a good question, NFL, and I'm glad that we're getting there.
You and I were calling that Brighton East game last year.
Oh yeah. Now it's never going to be in high school, but
well, that's the thing is, why don't you try it out? Try it out at all. Yeah. Could you imagine? My favorite part about all that is, I've been able to call a couple of these games with you or Sly, depending on, when schedules don't match up or whatever. And my favorite is when people turn around in the crowd and they look at you.
Yeah, they were mad at me.
Hey, KSL.
I thought I didn't think I was leaving the stadium that night.
Show them your camera.
I thought they were going to come up with a booth and demand.
Somebody mispronounced one of the East players' names over the PA, and they turned around to us and they're like, "Screw you guys," and we're like, "Huh? What?"
Wasn't me.
We're not the high school PA guys.
Jeez.
I'm all, gosh, if you've got a problem, email me.
Seriously glad I got out of there that night
Farnsworth at KSL.com. That's my email.
Send it to Alex's email at sfarnsworth at KSL.com.
You can reach me easily. But yeah, get the Hawkeye system going on. Get it in. Let's go. Try it out. As soon as it checks out and it works, you freaking use it from here on out. Then we don't have to go back and forth about whether or not a referee got the spot right. Quit it. All right. We'll take the break here. We'll come back. We got more to go. If anything else breaks from the recent BYU fall camp availability, if we're able to get any other information here, we'll bring it to you right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
Many congratulations to Katie Ledecky for many happy swimming times and gold medal. This now brings medal count for Mother Russia to, 0. Back to you.
Well, thanks to our crack Russian reporter, who's been pretty busy in Paris covering nobody. That guy needs to get a real job.
Games are still going.
Is Putin paying him?
games are still going. You don't know. We've seen wild things happen so far. So crossing our fingers for our Russian
Waiting for
friends
that
to,
first Russian medal.
If we can get that gold in Paris, man.
Look forward to more updates from our Russian. He doesn't even say what his name is.
No. Well, I think at this point.
Who is this guy? Who are we bringing on our radio show? Who is this guy?
He's probably, he sent him to us early this morning, so I'm assuming he's probably
So,
dead.
Jeremy, we're just going to let some random Russian reporter work for us? Is this how? We're getting a little loose, aren't we?
Russian dissident.
All right.
Probably,
we know what's going on geopolitically, right? We're just going to have random Russian propagandists on our program? I got to talk to the boss.
You know what, though? Yeah, listen, is he getting does he get a talent fee? What's he get?
Well, that
goes without saying. Come on.
I imagine so.
Okay.
I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
Whose paycheck am I talking about?
The Russian guy. No, he's probably no longer with us. We'll see if tomorrow, if we get more medal
count
updates.
Did you just kill our Russian reporter?
Well, I didn't, but Vladimir Putin probably did.
So oh, wow.
It's
so even the journalist gets murdered if they don't win medals?
It's complicated, and you know it.
It's tough in Russia. Jeez.
Yeah. All right, here's what we're going to do.
We're going to go back to our Russian reporter? I'd like to do that. He's on payroll. I guess we got to.
Yeah. Final segment of
Didn't
the
run
hour.
it by me.
Final segment of the hour, our best and worst, brought to you by Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. We just found out there's a Spanish. We heard there was a Spanish Fork, France earlier.
Yeah, ironically not in Spain.
And American Fork, Spain. Yeah. Yeah, we found out those are there. And do they have Doug Smith dealerships there? No, I don't know.
Well,
maybe.
Yeah, they're
obviously
in American Fork and Spanish Fork.
Yeah, I know. Incredible selections of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Great service starts with know-how, and nobody knows like Doug.
How do you say Doug in Spanish or French?
Yeah, Doug. It's a big Spanish name. The best, of course, we mentioned Katie Ledecky. You heard the Russian reporter congratulating her beforehand. She won the 1,500-meter freestyle. She now owns the top 20 times that have ever been recorded in this event, in the history of this event. Now, it officially became a sport on the women's side in 2021 in Tokyo, and that's Katie Ledecky won that one by 15 seconds. She won this year by 10. I was just assuming she could come back as a 31-year-old and win it by 5, and then when she's 35, it'll get real close for those Olympics.
She's already talking about LA in 2028.
Might as well. Why wouldn't you?
Won 8 gold medals.
I think it's awesome. She's one of the she's been the standard bearer,
of the ACC.
The ACC. So what does the ACC do? Because she winning her 8th gold medal is the best. The worst was the ACC and their official Twitter account congratulating Stanford grad and ACC all-time great Katie Ledecky.
You stink, and I don't like you!
Katie Ledecky never swam in the ACC unless it was against people in the ACC, because she, of course, is at Stanford in the Pac-12. But don't worry, because the ACC is they're not even doing it like tongue-in-cheek. They're not even like, oh, all-time ACC great. You got to be more self-aware than that, ACC. You can't go, oh, Stanford all-time great and ACC great, Katie Ledecky. I mean, they're in the ACC.
Alex, I respectfully disagree.
Okay.
When I think of the ACC, I think of Michael Jordan. I think of Trevor Lawrence. And I think of Katie Ledecky.
John Elway, throw him in there.
And John Elway.
All-time ACC great quarterback.
And Christian McCaffrey. Dude, the greatest ACC running back of all time, Christian McCaffrey.
Jeremy got it right. The all-century team in the all-20th century team for the ACC, Cal quarterback Aaron Rodgers, obviously.
And we all remember that crazy ACC incident, the band. The Cal band.
I thought you were going to say
is that one of the craziest moments in ACC history?
Marshawn Lynch driving the golf cart around.
That's my favorite ACC moment.
The ACC had to come down hard on him though.
That's the last time BYU's played an ACC opponent in a bowl game, when they played Cal in the Vegas Bowl in 2005.
Oh my gosh,
what are we doing?
Oh, good job ACC. You guys did it. You guys win it. All right. We'll be back again tomorrow. We're going to have more sound from BYU's already very, very quickly a spicy camp for BYU. Ben Bywater announcing his retirement from football due to medical reasons. That shoulder isn't better and will not be better enough for him to be able to be cleared medically. So there you go. That's the news coming out of Provo so far today, the biggest one at least. We'll come back again around the corner. Stay with us, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Get the latest Utah sports headlines delivered to
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, final segment of the day. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen, JJ and Alex, of course. We'll be back again tomorrow doing this same thing. I'm interested to see what the rest of what we get out of BYU's practices today after day one of media availability. We'll have another one on Friday as well. Help us understand a little bit more about what's going on down in Provo.
Kalani Sitake says the quarterback battle will not be determined this week. Shocker. Is that good or bad?
That is a bummer. What it is like, what was that quote from that guy? He's like, stop asking. Oh, it was Nick Saban, right?
So quit asking.
That's Kalani today. Somebody needs to tweet that out. Kalani all this week on the quarterback battle. So quit asking.
I'm not going to tell you, so quit asking.
Didn't he have to apologize later to that reporter for just doing her freaking job?
Yes.
I'm not going to say it, so quit asking. All right. I got a story, though, for you here. Do we have the audio, Jeremy? Queued up, ready to go? Gilbert Arenas went on a podcast earlier yesterday, and was talking about his time kind of going from college to in that transition to the NBA. And he revealed that he took a pay cut leaving Arizona to go to the NBA as a second-round draft pick. Now, second-round draft pick, of course, there's no guaranteed money there. He ended up...
Gilbert Arenas didn't play college in 2022. He played in 2002.
So, you were saying that we got ourselves an Eric Dickerson Trans Am type situation.
Just confirming what we've all known, that Arizona had bagmen for years.
He said he took a pay cut. Yeah, that's what it sounded like. We actually couldn't get the real audio because it was a lot of blankety blanks. And he was laughing about it, basically. He was like, and then somebody goes, wait, what did you just say? He goes, oh, yeah, I took a pay cut to come to the NBA from Arizona. Everyone's like, ha ha. Anyway. Isn't it fun? Wasn't that fun? Ha ha. In the meantime, we don't know who we are in collegiate athletics anymore. I'm not saying how dare we let these kids be paid. What I'm saying is how dare we slap them on the wrist to try to improve their situation.
Remember what they did to Reggie Bush because he took some money?
It was 15 years of begging for him to be able to still hold up the trophy for the best college football player in the country.
But O.J. Simpson kept his.
Where's O.J. now? Does he still live in Vegas?
He just did a reverse. Is he still with us?
See, I don't just kill people off on the show. I bring them back.
Somebody beat you to it. His name is Cancer.
I thought you were talking about. I can't go down that road. JJ, you get so dark sometimes. All right, we're going to take a break.
That's a heck of a way to end the show.
Better climb aboard. There's a happy JJ, the boat show JJ. All right, for Jeremy, our producer,
everybody.
JJ, I'm Alex. We'll be back again tomorrow for a Thursday edition of the program. We'll see you then, everybody.